welcome to episode 123 of Masters of the Forge. I'm Adam.
And I am Jason. And I think I have to change the combination on my luggage.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I had to get I had to get that in there. I just had to.
Well, it's fair. It's fair. All right, let's see. I ran out of half and half, so let's see what this almost used up can of whipped cream that was in the refrigerator tastes like as a creamer.
Well,
that's not too bad. It's not too bad. Nice creamer in a pinch, you know.
Yeah. Brave man.
Good. I'm also brave because I totally didn't check the sound quality of this of this before we started, so good luck with that.
Oh boy.
So this episode, I'm not sure if it'll be coming to you in January or not because it's the 27th and I'm sure Jason's very busy. But even though it is maybe February, we'll do another one for February because it's super late. Again, life is whimsical lately.
Yes.
So there's that. So why don't we just cut to the chase? And Jason, what have you been up to as far as hobbies concerned lately? Because we really haven't talked much. So
no,
and I really haven't been paying much attention to Discord either because I'm just so busy. So
we'll be talking about that in your hobby progress because we'll talk about why you've been busy in your hobby progress because yours has been pretty amazing. I know that you're not even posting everything that you're doing on Facebook, so
no, I'm not.
All right, so let me go ahead and start off with mine. When we last spoke, it was right before Christmas. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So over the break, which I had a break, last semester was how can I describe last semester? On fire.
Oh God, not in the face.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm too pretty. It's last semester was on fire and covered in raw sewage at all times. It was a pretty busy one. This semester is actually a lot calmer already. Mm-hmm. And it's like the first 2 weeks, which is always the worst. And I'm not wanting to hurt anybody, so Yahtzee, man.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's just not? It's not just because like you're full on Stockholm syndrome at this point. Like you've gone from like panic to just acceptance.
That's a distinct possibility. There might be, an intervention later. I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, let me go through and wander through my hobby progress.
Did we say cut to the chase? Because, oops.
So anyway, I'm going to call my holiday break Primapalooza. This is embarrassing. Okay, so after I moved back in July-ish, I didn't paint much because, I was busy. And so what I was doing at night was I was building things. I was picking up boxes from the game store and just building and not painting. Well, I primed...
Hold on. Everybody, I just want you to let you know, Jason is Texan, not racist. All right, move on.
Wait, what?
You said July!
What did I miss? Okay.
When Southern people say July, it's July, and it's just not. It's fine. It's fine. Just move on.
Sorry about my accent, everyone. I do apologize. So now I'm going to be concerned about any of the month I was born in. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, Primapalooza. I primed 3 getting started boxes, orcs, and 2 boxes of Zinch. A lot of terrain. Because I kept picking up the kill team boxes. Because I thought, hey, that's cool terrain. And so I built them, which didn't take much. I I did build the Aldari like forest world, death world, plant things.
How many pieces are those in?
Huh?
How many pieces are those in?
All of them. I will never buy that box again. Because, not that it isn't cool. It is a cool set. It's just the plastic feels different. I don't know how to explain it. It feels thicker.
It's their terrain plastic, right?
It's just a weird feel. It feels like there's mold release all over it. Even though you wash it down and scrub it, it still has that kind of too smooth feel. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, their accessories division uses different plastic.
Okay.
I think it's a less expensive plastic.
I hate that plastic because it also priming it is just a nightmare. All the other terrain I've liked priming, but that stuff just drove me absolutely crazy the entire time I worked on it. I haven't painted it yet, but I did prime it. I primed a bunch of Thousand Suns, some Mantis Warriors for Kill Team, all the stuff in the Blackstone Fortress box, which is a bit, the Rogue Trader box, a bunch of Raven Guard that I built back in June that I just hadn't had a chance to do anything with. So yeah, I have like 3 or 4 boxes full of stuff. In fact, it was so bad that I ran out of primer, and I had to order another thing of primer. And yeah, that was fun. Let's see what else.
That is awesome.
So that's the priming that I did. I also finally decided, as some of you know, I do have very ornate bases for my Raven Guard and for my Space Marines in general, and I hate myself because of it. Yep, still hate myself. So what I decided was I'm going to do other types of bases, other schemes. So I finally created a basing scheme for the Thousand Suns using a roller from Green Stuff World. That stuff
is great.
It's the Egyptian one. You lay out some Sculpey, roll it over, heat it, bake it, and then just kind of crack it and tear it. And you get some really cool stuff, some really cool textures. So that's going to be on my bases for my Thousand Suns and Tzeentch. I think I'm going to do something similar for my Orcs, just have kind of a rocky wasteland thing. Let's see. Because that would be interesting, and that's... on one hand, I'd like to do like the Zone Mortalis starship thing for the Orcs, but on the other hand, I don't hate myself that much. So
no, and they're speed freaks, right? Yeah. You're doing speed freaks, so it's almost better to just do like a desert scheme or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
You know what? Make the Orcs just fun and just do a sand base with some, maybe the most you should do, I think, is maybe buy some like basing material, like little cactuses or something.
Oh yeah, like little desert wasteland stuff. Yeah, that's
or like some like tumbleweeds or some nonsense like that.
Yeah, that'd be better for what I'm doing, because those guys don't need to be. I don't want them to be in the Zone Mortalis, because they are more of a Mad Max style scheme.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Tzeentch. Oh yeah, so I've got those 2 getting started boxes of Tzeentch. So those are all built, and I'm airbrushing them.
Nice.
Everything is highlighted, and the screamers are fully painted. So I went to town on those. I think I had 11 total. Because I picked.
So you have had a very productive break.
Yeah, because no one could find me because I refused to walk into my office.
That's very healthy.
Let's see, what else? Oh, building Maggie. I'm building Magnus.
Okay.
That's. I picked him up. Well, hold on. So I did the CK Studios 102 and was sitting next to one of our listeners. Hi, John. And he had Maggie already built, and he was just doing this, between sessions, and he almost completely based Magnus, and it was incredible. And I sat there and thought, great, now I've got to do Thousand Suns. I've been threatening to do it, but this is it. So I'm building Maggie. I'm still in the process. That is a big model. It is cool, but it is super big model. And it'll probably never hit the tabletop because I'm not going to drop that on on people unless it's
well. There's a time and place for everything, right?
Say what?
There's a time and place for everything, right?
Yeah, and that one is, it's under the Will Wheaton "Don't be a dick" move. I'm not censoring that because I don't think I should.
It's fine.
Let's see, Zone Mortalis board. So I built that 2 years ago. And I had them based in the walls. And I just decided to tear the bases off and keep just the walls because, one, they were taking up a lot of room. And, I don't know. I decided to go ahead and just take the bases off, kept the walls. I can use those. I've got a table I can use them on. If I pick up a fat mat or something like that, then I can just spray paint them to match the fat mat. Yeah. And I'm going to do more modifications on them, so...
Right. And we really like playing on the one I did, and that works. That mat works really well. Yeah, I'm going to modify those walls to be closer to what you have with the... Start adding in some detail, like not a lot of detail, but I'm thinking about cutting up sprues and using that as, wall detail because it's inexpensive and I've got a bunch of sprue laying around, so let's see. Right. All right. Something not in my notes, something that's not in my notes and you just made me think of. Yeah. The Azurite ruins. Yeah. That GW makes, those are super inexpensive and really would make for a great ancient Zone Mortalis. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, if you wanted to do a Zone Mortalis to match your Thousand Suns or something like that. Right. Or try to do something like the Black Library or something. That Azurite Ruins is really great. Okay. I think it would make for a really good ZM. It's just there's some holes in it, like windows and doors and stuff that you might want to sometime, if in some cases, put a door there. So you might want to do a mold, build a door out of green stuff and do a mold of it, maybe. Oh, that's all. But they're super cheap. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I'm looking at those. Oh, yeah, those are nice. Yeah, those are really nice. Okay. Yeah. I'll have to look at those later. I'm looking at the GW site right now. Right. Two last things, and then I'll shut up. Okay, so I had to replace 2 needles for 2 of my airbrushes, my Sotar, my 105, because somehow the needle got bent. And it wasn't. So that's $40. That's a $40 bill right there. They weren't horribly bent, but it was enough that I couldn't get instead of having a circle spray pattern, I had an oval spray pattern. So yeah, that's not great. Then you have to hold it at a weird angle to get it to go back to a circle. Yeah, so I just replaced those. Actually, the 105 was so bent that I couldn't even. What I was doing was I was trying to see what was happening, and I went through and cranked the air pressure up to 30 psi, and it still was just spraying as though it just wasn't even spraying. I was like, okay, there's a problem here. But those got replaced and they're working now. Actually, I converted the Patriot to a larger needle. And the last thing, I subscribed to Little Legends painting Patreon, because he went through and gave a couple of 2 or 3 episodes, I guess, painting tutorials to the 30K subscribers, the 30K channel subscribers, and the videos are really good, so I just said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to this because I enjoy it. So, yeah. That's cool. Excellent. Yeah, I've heard good things about that channel. I've heard it's pretty good. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff. He does, weathering stuff, just straight up painting. If you are a Blood Angels fan, I would highly recommend it because so is he, and he's pulling all the stops out for the release of the new, the rumored release, the new Horus Heresy book
that has blood angels in it. So he's got all sorts of cool stuff that he's painted, all sorts of conversions that he's been doing, and it's pretty impressive, actually. It's really impressive.
Nice. Thanks, Jason. Sounds like you were very productive. My own stuff didn't get done because I was preparing for Golden Sprue Cup, which is our annual GT. I am just the worst, but those who can't do teach. I mean, those who can't do, those who can't play run events. So that's what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of prep for that. I've been doing a lot of like kvetching over it too. Yeah. So like anytime I was like supposed to be working on terrain, a lot of the time I would be like not doing anything because crazy brain.
Yeah.
But it all worked out in the end. My buddy Pat and Carissa and Danielle came over and they helped me out with... Oh, and also Matt came over.
Yeah.
Chris's husband. They had a really nice wedding. We went to their reception in Connecticut. That was good fun. It was at a brewery.
Oh.
And
well, that's not shocking.
Yeah, that was really cool. Oh, yeah. I haven't had beer in like a year and a half, and I was just trashed. It was great. Anyways, so yeah, all of the terrain, like I said, I did those Azurite ruins, did like four per, I think a dozen ruins, so like 1 foot square hardboard. We glued them to it and did sand bases with wood glue.
Yeah.
And I put used some clamps and some books to hold them down while they dried so that they dry flat.
Oh,
which is really interesting. It's necessary, absolutely necessary, because then I did the same thing with some woods that I made. Oh, I'm so proud of these woods, dude. I'm like, I need woods. I was going to cut some foam boulders.
Yeah.
And glue those. A lot of people do that. They'll do some foam boulders and put those on a base and call them woods.
Okay, yeah.
But I was at the Dollar General and I'm like, what are these? It was like $3.99 for some cinnamon scented pine cones. I'm like, oh, let's get these. And the dude's like, $1.95. I'm like, wait, what? Those are on sale? He's like, yeah, they're Christmas. I'm like, I'm going to go get the rest. I bought like 4 bags of these giant pine cones and I hot glued them to the hardboard, like little kidneys, you know, cut kidneys out with the jigsaw. And sanded them down and then glued the pine cones to it and then glued some sand, painted the pine cones purple. And they're just like, they're these awesome alien trees. It is amazing. I love them. But that was during crunch time. That was the week of. So I did those in a day with the hills and they curled super bad. So I'm going to have to, what I'll do is I'll just get them wet because the bottoms aren't painted.
Right.
So all I really have to do is get them wet again and then clamp them and they should dry flat.
Yeah. So
it's just an important thing you have to do with those things or else they just are warped real bad because of the glue. So I did those and I did some hills, got some 2-inch foam and cut them with the foam cutter. A foam cutter is great, but it also releases a lot of toxins. You want you want to be wearing a mask, not just a mask, but not a rebreathe. What do you call them? Anyways, a proper mask that
in a well-ventilated area. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Even doing it outside, like the fumes go right up into your face.
Yeah.
It's not great. So yeah, I got those and I used Gorilla Glue to glue them together and then sand. I didn't have an opportunity to do the pre-clear coat on those. So what I do is I paint them with gesso. I like hand brush them with gesso first. And then I spray painted them with automotive undercoating.
Uh-huh.
And that gets really nice coverage with one coat. I was very impressed with that, actually.
I
obviously wouldn't use it on regular models, but for the sand and stuff, that was really nice.
That was, Sean had recommended that, right? Well, Sean, however he spells his name. If that's even how you pronounce his name.
Sahawagan?
Yeah.
That stuff is really good. I really like it. But it takes like 24 hours to dry. I didn't realize that. So it was not... Oops. That caused some issues when we dry brushed them. Anyways, we dry brushed those. So those, I didn't have an opportunity to do the clear coat ahead of time, which I usually do to kind of lock in that sand even more.
Yeah.
And you could tell when I brought it home from the tournament, it was pretty messed up.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a repair job on those and clear coat them again.
Good idea.
I've been getting high. It's no big deal. It's fine. It's fine.
What we do for our art,
yeah. What we do for our hobbies and our art. Yeah. The sacrifices we make.
Yep.
I also did a Realm of Metal board. I started this a long time ago as a Zone Mortalis project. For a long time, I drank Diet Pepsi every day. I had like 3 a day. It was gross. Industrial chemicals in your body. Anyways, I had been saving the caps because I thought I was cool. At work, I would build like these pyramids out of the caps, like giant pyramids on my filing cabinets and my desk and stuff. And I just thought it was funny. Then I realized, well, what if I were to use this for terrain? So I actually had enough caps. I glued them to enough 1x1 squares to create an entire 6x4 foot battlefield.
Wow.
You would think that models would topple over. They don't. They're just the right size for models to balance fine on them. Even the 25 millimeter bases are fine. And so I brought that out again and I finished all the hills. So I did some hills and I made an Age of Sigmar Realm of Metal board. I spray painted everything with the automotive undercoating. Wendy helped me do some sponge weathering. We got some orange and brown and stuff, and we used the natural sponges to kind of create this rusted battlefield. And then Carissa helped me dry brush silver on the hills and the battlefield. So by the time it was done, it was this big, cool, rusted pillar world. Like the realm of all the realms have many different biomes.
Oh yeah.
And I would think that the Realm of Metal is similar, where some places will be this like junk world, but some places will also be, almost Hive City-ish. Well, I was thinking there might be this weird, strange place where these tall metal pillars come rising out of the ground and create a landscape kind of similar to like old images, old like graphic images of what cyberspace might look like, Lawnmower Man-ish. So that's kind of where I got the inspiration from. I still have enough caps where I could probably still do a cool Zone Mortalis. So just make some L-shaped walls of all different sizes.
Yeah.
And just fill the table with those. And I think those would work just fine for a Zone Mortalis. So that might be a project for the future.
I hope so. That does. I loved how that board looked. I remember seeing it before. Well, when I lived in upstate, and I thought, yeah, that looks like awesome. And I think you just said, well, I've kind of shelved it because I don't know what to do with it. And I think using his Realm of Metal board is a really good idea.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it was really good. Some people still would prefer not to play on it, and that was fine. We had enough tables that it didn't matter.
Okay. They're wrong.
Yeah, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody helped out I want to thank everyone. It's hard to thank people individually because almost everybody had a hand in helping.
Yeah.
Mike helped out with, he said as he continued to name names, Mike really helped out by boarding up some windows for me.
Yeah.
He took some sprue, glued them to the ruins and painted them, and he repaired some of the buildings. One of our Age of Sigmar players actually helped build some terrain, or paint some terrain. Our Taylor, our Realm of Death terrain. He I already had them like dry brushed, but they were getting broken and stuff, and it's still not fully painted. So he painted those, and they just look great. They just look really great. And I had picked up a Cobbletown mat.
Yeah.
From Table War. Oh my goodness! When you put that terrain on that Cobbletown mat, it looks amazing.
Good.
It looks really nice. I'm still not going to bring all the Table War mats that I bought for the tournament to the store because fat mats just get ruined at the store.
Well, that one mat got
but I'll bring them out
all
for
over the pen.
I'll bring them out for tournaments and stuff.
Yeah,
though.
good idea.
And if people want to play at my house, and of course for Golden Sprue, so that all that stuff's gonna kind of belong to Golden Sprue. I invested a lot in terrain and fat mats. We still had a lot of money for prize support, but I did do some fairly heavy investment in fat mats. But Table War, they gave us a great deal.
Yeah,
they gave us a bunch of mats and they shipped them for free. And that was super, super, super aces of them. They're great supporters of tournaments and stuff. I love those guys.
Yeah. Yep.
And what else? The tournament went really well. We had a huge snowstorm come in, like the night, like the Saturday. So we always have the tournament on Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday.
Yeah.
Or not birthday, like
but
day.
The weekend, yeah.
Observed that weekend. And we had snow. We had like a foot of snow that Saturday night.
Yeah, I was watching all this. I was kind of watching it from here and thinking, I miss my friends, but I don't miss the snow at all. So yeah, it was pretty nuts. Fortunately, I already paid for everything. Everything's paid for. Yeah.
So the weekend before, I was like, okay, well, this is it. This is the cutoff date for refunds.
Yeah.
And as much as I hate to do it, I'm really glad I did that because quite a few people, like, not a huge amount of people. We had 63 sign up for 40K and 26 sign up for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
So it would have been something like 90 people. About 90 people plus TOs and helpers and stuff. And that would have been a lot. Oh yeah, Age of Sigmar. So Jared ran Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, I saw that. Good job.
I really appreciated that.
Yeah,
and
thank you, Jared.
all the guys built terrain for it. So we had this idea of doing a realm, like a board for each realm.
Okay,
and they really came through for that. They really did. Those guys are freaking awesome. I really appreciated that. There was some really cool ones too, like the Realm of Beasts was really awesome because we had some skulls and like Realm of Life was really cool. Had some like trees and stuff, some really cool trees.
Yeah.
It was the Age of Sigmar side looked really nice, and the guys looked like they had a great time. Actually, I say guys, it was won by a lady, so boom.
Awesome.
Anyways, we had a really lovely time. Anyways, yeah, we had 51 actually show up for 40K.
That's
which,
still good.
With the weather, that's really, really good. And we had 20 for Age of Sigmar, which means it was an official GT, which was really nice. We would have had enough for 40K to make it a major, which I know a lot of our listeners might not know or care what that means, but it's a pretty good thing. So, I really like narrative gaming more than anything else. I'd prefer not to do matched play if I can't help it. But at the same time, events like this really support your local communities. So if you have a game store near you and you're a narrative person, still think about supporting those events, because it really helps get people together, get people to meet each other, supports the local game store and the local community. And, sure, you might get your butt whooped, but it's worth it to support that. And a lot of our local players go all in and they support the events, even if it means you're not going to do great in the tournament. Everybody who came up to me said how great the atmosphere was and how wonderful, the great games they had. And they really made me happy to hear people talk about how much they like the terrain. Good. They were really happy with the terrain. So that makes me feel good, because it's a lot of people put a lot of effort into making the terrain really nice. So, not every table was perfect. Right. We do have some improvements to make, but thanks to Dan from Tectonic Crafts, he's been donating a lot of stuff to our tournament. Really appreciated that. A gentleman showed up. His name is Doc. I'll see about promoting his business next time. I don't have his card here on me. I should have put that in the notes, but we'll give him a shout out in the next episode. He does some laser cut stuff, and he donated some things, which was really, really, really nice. But of course, our game store Flipside, they're the ones who really come through for us, because they donate the store's resources to Terrain. Yeah. So if you have a decent account with Games Workshop and you do a lot of business with Games Workshop, they'll provide you with a terrain budget and a prize budget, and they use a lot of it off for the Golden Sprue Cup. So any terrain that's donated through there goes back to the store. Yeah. Obviously, I don't keep that here like I do with the fat mats and stuff, but in the hills that I made. But the all that terrain, the store now has loads of Age of Sigmar terrain to use, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is nice.
We needed that real bad. We really needed that really badly over there. Another thing about Flip Side, they came to me and asked me if we wanted to do a promotion thing with them, and I was like, well, we don't really accept money from companies and stuff, because it gets confusing. Yeah, like where that money goes and stuff. So, but at the same time, I still want to support the FLGS, and they have an online store now, and they sell Warhammer stuff in the store at their normal discount. Yeah, and they do kind of like Frontline. They have deals with shipping and stuff to help make it even cheaper. Ooh. So, yeah, which is really nice. And some people prefer to go places other than a Frontline. So, supporting my FLGS would be a great step in that direction. Yeah. If you want to, if you wanted to go to the Flipside's website, you can support a local game store when you buy stuff online, which is a really good idea.
Yeah, and that's, even though I don't live there anymore, that's still, Flipside's still my place, so.
Right, yeah.
I wouldn't mind throwing some business
your spirit
their way.
Still haunts the place. So, something I came up with was, well, what if when people order from Flipside, if they put in our code, like Masters of the Forge or whatever, what if a percentage of that goes to a prize drawing for the listeners?
That could work.
So like whoever buys something gets put on a list, and once we get up to an amount that's like enough to sell a kit or whatever, just like a regular kit, we'll raffle off the kit, and it's not a raffle. We'll do we'll randomly draw a name, and they will get, whatever they want from the store.
Okay, that could work. We'll need to talk to the store about if that's doable, but that sounds good.
No, it is.
Oh, it is?
I already talked to him about it. Yeah, I already said, hey, what if we did this? I just need to run it by you.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
And if you're cool with that, I think that would be fun. Awesome. So I 35 minutes in, I'm not done, but that's okay.
That's okay, because
these will be longer because we're doing them monthly. So I also read The Blood of Eax, which is one of the new Primaris novels. It's about a pair of actual brothers who are Ultramarine Primaris. It's a chaplain and a apothecary. Mm-hmm. It's about their adventures on a world where they're fighting orcs. And the orc perspective in this novel is really cool.
I'll have to go and read that one.
There's a pain boy and a weird boy and this war boss who's kind of like... The war boss is kind of a Frankenstein's monster. Yeah. And that's why... It's really cool. Like, it's a whole thing. I really, really liked it. Anybody who likes orcs should read Blood of Eax. It also has some interesting Primaris exposition in it, but mainly it's the relationship between the two brothers and the orc exposition that's really, really cool.
That is cool.
Also, I just built, in a couple of days, I built and painted a Big Mac with Shock Attack gun for my buddy Steven Pamperine, who was at the tournament. He's like he's a high-ranking orc player, and he was borrowing my Shock Attack gun. Yeah. It took the competitive community a little while to get wise to the fact that the Shock Attack gun is super awesome. Yeah. Now, I think it's super awesome because it's super awesome. But they think it's super awesome because it actually does the work. So I built him one out of like a knob and a mech boy. Like, I had to switch the hands, but for the custom Mega Blasta, but that's easily done. You can just saw the gun off the hand and then put it in another hand. It's not a big deal. I used the old knob head. Uh-huh. It's the cyborg body head. He's got like a smokestack coming out of his mouth for some reason, which is really cool. Yeah. I used my hobby knife. I use a scalpel hobby knife to trim away at the front of the regular knob torso. Yeah. And I had a lot of whittling to do there, but I was able to glue the front part of a Storm Boy. The Storm Boy is cool because it's got like this metal machinery pack on the chest with like a lightning bolt symbol on it. And that's really great to use for big mechs and mech boys. But you really have to do a lot of whittling to get because it comes with multiple fronts. It comes with options for fronts. The Storm Boy kit does. Yeah. So you'll end up with extras. So one of my I did that. And then I used the Melta cannon from the Imperial Knight kit.
Oh, for the Shock Attack gun. I saw that. Yeah.
And the custom force field. So I made my Gorkanaut Morkanaut kit I used as a Gorkanaut because I already had a Morkanaut. So I took the custom force field from that, cut off the vanes, the spinning vanes, and glued those to the front of the Melta cannon. And then I took the machinery part and glued it to the back. So that gave it that orky shock attack gun feel. Oops. And then I took a couple of the repulsor, like, grav engine things and glued those to it and painted the tips with the brass. And then lastly, I wanted to do like a casing on the side. So there's the DakaJet has a skid on the bottom for when it makes a crash landing. And when I made the one DakaJet into a whatever, I forgot what it's called, the big mech one. It puts a gun on the bottom instead of the skid, so I used the skid for the plate on the side. So that is a lot of parts, but I'm really proud of it. It's really nice. I'm like, why? Wait, I have to send this away now? So, yeah, I was using it as kind of a test model, do my own, but now I'm like, well, shoot, this is way better. So I'm going to send that to Steven. This Big Mech Def Pampers, because his name is Steven Pamperine. So when Sean Naden beat him at our tournament, he said, I beat the Pampers. I'm like, that's cute. I'm sure he didn't get that as a kid in school ever.
No.
And will be totally happy to get that and won't paint over it the moment he gets it. I'm sure he will. But that's fine. Not lastly, I'm looking forward to painting my Space Boatsman. I think that'll be the next project.
Okay.
Painting some
the
Paratron Overlords. Dwarves? Yeah, I was gonna do like a super duper, like as good as I can do it paint job, but with the baby coming in a couple months, I don't have time for that. I really don't.
Yeah.
So I was already going to do Barrack Monar, which are kind of this pirate faction. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do a heavily weathered look to them, and that should be good. I just haven't decided whether I'm going to do regular GW washes or if I'm going to do an oil wash situation. I might do the oil wash just because it'll look grimier.
Yeah.
We'll see. It won't be as it'll be a little tougher because you got to do the removal stage, but I think it'll look really nice. So we'll go with that and do some sponge weathering and stuff.
Well, I finally looked at the videos for doing oil washes, and they look amazing and time-consuming. Yeah, the removal process is not great. But you can speed it up a little bit by using paper towels instead of Q-tips, which is less precise, but in this situation, it's not really that important. You could do like your first level, you do your first removal with the paper towel, then you go in with the, Q-tips?
With the Q-tip. For the English folks, Q-tips are like cotton swab stick things. It's just name brand, and sometimes we call things by their name brand even when they're not name brand. Like my grandmother used to call the couch a Davenport, which was, I guess it was a name brand couch back in the day.
Oh yeah, my grandmother did the same thing.
And a Hoover, like they'll call the vacuum cleaner a Hoover, even if it's not a Hoover.
Or in Texas, all soft drinks are called Cokes.
Yeah, which is not confusing at all.
Yeah. Do you want a Pepsi Coke or do you want a Sprite Coke? I have heard that, yeah.
And my buddy Jay is a jerk.
Oh, good. I don't have to censor that.
He was gonna get into 40K a while ago, but he decided not to because he had 2 kids or whatever, which is super annoying, but that's fine. And he came to my house the other day and dropped off 1,000 points of Dark Eldar. I hate him so much.
Well, you can talk to Brian about it.
Yeah. Oddly enough, everything is magnetized. Literally everything.
Wait.
It is the man no wonder he quit, because it must have broke his brain. Like, I have 2 of the Raider transports.
Yeah.
Every single option is magnetized to the point where I can run them either as transports or as the Darklance thingy.
Dude.
Yeah,
he broke himself on that.
Yeah, I have one of the bomber things, but it can be run as any of the Dark Eldar airplanes, because every single thing is magnetized.
Yeah, that's... Oh, man, okay. No wonder he's like, I don't have time, because that is the most time-consuming thing that he ever did.
Yeah, but one thing, though, is that I know for a fact that the jet is lit up with LEDs, but the base is missing. So I'm going to ask him if he still has the base, because it's...
Wait a second. Hold on. He put LEDs in the jet?
Yeah, it's got like green, like engine wash.
He okay. Sorry, I'm
yeah.
That's amazing. Cool. It's so cool. I mean, I've never run an LED kit on any of my stuff, or yeah.
Well, and it's like, it doesn't even have wires going into the airplane either.
Yeah.
I think it's like got a dry connector underneath.
Okay.
So, like, I think the current goes through some kind of, like, touch connection. He's pretty good with that kind of thing. So, I'll report back on that later. We'll see if it still works.
Yeah.
But,
wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Sorry, that just blew my mind.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
So that's my hobby progress.
Yeah, we had a lot of hobby progress, but I mean, it's been a month or more. Yeah, it's been 6 weeks.
We should have hobby progress. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get on to games played. Mine's pretty easy. First of all, I did forget, I've been reading Cadian Honor from Justin Hill, which is the...
cool. Justin D. Hill?
Yeah. Pardon me?
Justin D. Hill.
Yeah, whatever his middle initial is. Yeah, there's another guy who has that name. Whatever. Yeah. Okay, the guy we've brought onto our show, the guy whose stuff I really enjoy. Yeah, that'll work. This is the sequel to Cadia Stands, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Really great book. I haven't finished reading it yet. He is a master of the prologue. Like, he'll that prologue, every time I'll sit there and read it and I think, great, I'm not sleeping tonight. Perfect, So I'm going to make sure that any of his future stuff that I read, I started on like a Thursday or a Friday, so that I don't have to like get up in the morning or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, his stuff is great. I'm really enjoying it. Haven't finished it. I'm not going to spoil stuff, but it really is interesting. Just I don't want to spoil things, and that prologue could spoil all sorts of.
Well, it includes one of the characters from Cadia Stands.
Yeah, it's I can't remember her name now. It's the female guardsman. She survives the end of the book.
Like the survivor of that book.
Well, she survived the end of Cadia Stands, which, that's kind of important. And it just kind of shows it's showing the next step in after that. What's happening with the 101st from Cadia in terms of what they're...
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. I do like it quite a bit. They've wandered to another part of the galaxy that's nearby, that's near Cadia. So, yeah.
Cool.
All right, cool. Games played. So let me get to that. No games. I'm lame. I've been spending time on musical commissions. My day job, I guess. I've got a bunch of things I'm supposed to write for people. I'm way behind on that. And I just got another... I think I'm getting a big commission. I've been pretty soon, so... there will be times I don't paint or play because I'm trying to get that stuff done. But, whatever.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Since this is our first
creative pursuit
episode of the year, my resolution, I guess, for this year is to get more games in. I've got a new FLGS that has opened up about 1.5 miles from my current place, and
nice.
They do some kill team there. So I'm gonna, pull out some kill team stuff and try and go play there. Get some games in. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Nice.
Yep.
That's awesome, dude. We wrapped up our Kill Team League at the store. It was way too long. 3 months was way too long. Way too long. But people had a good time. People were asking, can we still do Kill Team? Like, of course you can. Yeah, it's your hobby. You do you. Because everybody should kind of have a Kill Team, like, on deck in case somebody wants to play Kill Team. You know? I played a couple games with Alexis with my orcs. She's been trying out the new Sisters of Battle. She's not super impressed with them, but she prefers like match play and stuff, and I understand. There are a lot of faction, from a match play perspective, there's a big push, I think, right now to stop additional activations. So Sisters of Battle had a lot of like extra attack phases, whatever. Or extra shooting phases, and just like the Yanari, and they're trying to curb that as well. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of that where you need to spend command points in order to get extra activations, because otherwise it's too powerful. Yeah. So they're working through that, and I know for a fact that there's going to be big changes going forward there, because they're doing it's a beta test, so it's cool. And I'm looking to play some more Emperor's Children going forward for a little while. It's just the orcs just take a lot out of me. Yeah. So I'm gonna this month I think I'm gonna focus on playing with those. I just bought the new Noise Marine, so I'm gonna build that model and paint it up and add it to my army. And
cool.
I want to play with those guys for a little while, because they just got new points values and stuff. So when we play match play at the store, that'll be cool. I'll play with them and see what they're like. And that's about it. Just getting a little orced out, so I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, and maybe we'll get back to orcs next month.
Good idea. That does help.
So let's do our Beyond the Fringe. It looks like we have one Beyond the Fringe right now.
Because, yesterday. How about this? You go ahead and announce it, what yours is, and I'll explain. Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I found out, that I apparently should be watching a show called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, because apparently it's really good, and I watched it. I started watching it on like a Sunday afternoon. No, late Sunday evening, early Sunday evening, and I stayed up till 3 a.m. watching season 1.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I did exactly the same thing with season 2. Like, it broke me. Well, I didn't realize that it was Amy Sherman Palladino who executive produced it and wrote it and came up with it, because she's the same person who developed the Gilmore Girls, which is a show that I love. So yeah, it stands to reason that I would love this show. So it's amazing. It's an amazing show. It's about a lady who becomes a stand-up comedian after having a falling out with her husband in the 1950s. It is a great show. It is a really, really funny show.
Yeah. So this weekend I've been working on a kind of a large project for work. And so I wanted to put on something in the background, and I'd heard some people actually talk about this Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on there, or Maisel. And I thought, you know what, I'll have that on there. Maybe I'll have it on as background, see what's going on. And it was a little bit more difficult to do my work because there was some hilarious stuff in that show that kind of stopped me from working. So I had to kind of turn it off after about 2 or 3 episodes because, at some point you do have to finish this project, right?
Yeah, productivity ruined.
Yeah. I don't know if
Awesome.
I should be putting quotes from that show in the new minor that I'm writing for school. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So this episode is about Genestealer cults. We've been threatening this for years, actually.
Yes, we have.
But we finally did it. And we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to find out what Wendy wants. And then we'll come back and talk about Genestealer cults in the lore.
Cool.
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Well, don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 hour a night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke en bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer en bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said.
This is David Annandale, and you're listening to Masters of the Forge, where they bring the world of Warhammer 40,000 to life on your tabletop.
Welcome back, Genestealer cults. So, we have been doing some episodes where we do just the sub-factions, or, like, detail the sub-factions, and the independent characters do a great job of, like, doing highlights on factions, too.
Mm-hmm.
They do, like, a whole, like, focus on a faction, and they talk about the models and stuff. And, you know, I think that's kind of a hallmark. I mean, what are you gonna do? We have to talk about something. So
right.
I'm sure whatever their episode is going to be awesome on this too. But at the same time, you know, we've been talking about it, and I wanted to learn about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine. And Carl says he doesn't listen to any like 40K shows anyways. So
okay.
You know, it's not like we're not going to ruin their episode when they finally do it.
He won't notice.
Looking around, I downloaded whatever I could for the faction. There's not a whole lot. There's a lot less than I originally expected.
Yeah.
I expected there to be a lot because this is kind of a beloved topic for people, but it's kind of like the squats, where it's beloved because it's old and fun and interesting. There's not a lot of detailed lore out there about the Genestealer cults. We've got novels like Death Watch and stuff which talk about the Genestealer cults and have them featured as part of it. And we have Rogue Trader, and we have the first edition Warhammer 40,000 compilation, which we're going to get into here.
Mm-hmm.
In this first section. And it's when you go and look for other sources, like when you look at the wikis and stuff, if you go to the Warhammer wiki, I usually start off reading the codex and going through the lore in the codex, and then I go to the wikis to see if I can find if there are any other sources. And in this case, the whole Warhammer wiki portion on Genestealer cults basically copies and pastes what's in the codex. I don't know how they get away with it, but that's what they did. So I'm like, well, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So I took what I could from the two sources that we discussed, and from the codex, and you know, like I said before, these are all kind of research papers that we put together and talk about it. So that's the long-winded explanation of how we did this. And if folks, if you have your own thoughts on the Genestealer cults, please let us know, and we'll include them in the notes in the future. So, Jason, you want to start us off with kind of what the general idea, like the mission statement for the Genestealer cults?
Yeah. So, I wasn't around in, first and second edition, Rogue Trader and second edition 40K. And so I really didn't know much about the Genestealers, the cults, whenever I first got in. I knew that they were more fabled rather than, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff for them. But anyways, the cult is meant to represent the horror that exists in the human mind when it really considers what might be lurking in the dark places between the stars. They are an insidious interloper, totally alien in their motives, yet completely familiar in appearance. In this way, they are able to infiltrate all levels of society, imperial or otherwise. The Genestealer Cult, among other things in Warhammer, are strongly influenced by the works of H.P. Lovecraft. The concept tickles at our paranoid lizard brains, whispering that perhaps there's a deep conspiracy at work in the universe, pulling our strings and leading us to, in the end, be devoured by beings which are beyond our understanding, and for whom we are not worthy of their consideration. It's fun that it's really cool that we're bringing up the idea of Lovecraft because, Lovecraft does have the elder gods and, some of the other unknown horrors that are out there. And there's a lot of authors out there who've taken Lovecraft and kind of brought him into the current age. Like Charles Stross has an entire thing and called the Laundry Files. And there's a character in the Laundry Files that's kind of like this patriarch, or like a patriarch. And it's kind of terrifying. It's really well written. But that book is terrifying, and I see the stuff within 40K, and it's just like, ooh, this is, this really does reach down into that human mind,
Right. Yeah, and it's funny. It's a similar thing where you have this group of people who are like whose position is, well, we know the truth. Mm-hmm. We have the truth. You are all in the dark, and you should come into the light with us and see the truth of the universe.
And the many armed
But it turns out that the universe, the actual truth of the universe is much more horrible than they could ever possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And it kind of turns on them, and it's really great. I found this really fun. On the D4chan site for Genestealer Cults, they found somebody linked to this really great PDF of a religious tract.
Yeah.
For Cthulhu. It's a Cthulhu religious tract, like a Jack Chick tract.
Yeah.
But for Cthulhu, it is amazing. And I sent it to my buddy who really likes Lovecraft, and he does comic books. He's like, yeah, I know this guy, and he's a really good, he's a really funny artist. So yeah, you guys should check that out. It's called Why We Are Here. Just do a Google search for a religious tract, Why We Are Here, Cthulhu, and you'll find it. It's really funny. So the Genestealers first appeared in Rogue Trader, and they were mainly operated by like a GM. Person, the GM ran them as a plot device, and they were clearly inspired by xenomorphs from the Alien movies. And even though the Tyranids were first encountered on the world of Tyran, the Genestealers were thought to hail from the world of Yungarl. But they were soon encountered elsewhere, as they were really extremely adaptable creatures, just like an alien. Like the xenomorph would implant their cocoon, or they would implant their seed in a species, and then whatever kind of advantages that species would have, the xenomorph would also have. So yeah, their young would take on the traits of whatever species the parent impregnated with their egg, and it's like this rather disturbing process that's implemented with this ovipositor, super gross. Anyways, after many generations, the Genestealers would resemble the infected species more and more, though their bluish skin, pointed teeth, and strange demeanor would always kind of give them away.
Yeah, in the Death Watch novel from Steve Parker, that he kind of brings that in, the strange demeanor, always giving away, certain certain members of the cult. So
here, this next part that we're about to talk about, I think I can see where people. Anyway, you take it away, and we'll talk about it after.
All right. So, Genestealer cults were greatly expanded in the first edition of Warhammer 40,000 compilation from 1991, which it seems was derived from a pair of White Dwarf articles by Tim Huckleberry. The section begins with the following: the Genestealers are a race of aliens from another galaxy who seek to conquer the Imperium from within. They infiltrate a planet, infecting citizens with their genetic material, causing their children to be born Genestealer human hybrids. A Stealer and its victim would form a secret cult on the planet, wherein the Stealer's monstrous progeny could mature in safety and secrecy until they are in a position to challenge the planet's rulers. The Genestealer is described as bipedal hoofed creature with deep blue carapace, 4 arms, and a face set with a fanged mouth and hypnotic eyes. It is in this book that the Genestealer's ability to adapt and infest a planet are revealed as a credible threat to the Imperium as a whole.
They really expanded on the Genestealers here, and I think a lot of this compilation is kind of like the chapter approved of its day.
Yeah,
it pulled in a lot of stuff from White Dwarf articles and whatnot, and it was a big group effort. And I think I've heard a lot of people talk about, and it kind of pined for this compilation. And I think it's a popular book.
Yeah.
I was looking through it, and there's a lot of fun stuff in there that we might want to explore in the future.
Yeah.
But, it looks like there's a big kind of explosion between base Rogue Trader and this Warhammer 40,000 compilation.
Right.
Like I guess essentially they're the same game, but I think a lot of stuff happened between, Rogue Trader and this compilation. There's a lot of models were released, a lot of additional rules were released, and a lot of the game was supported by by the White Dwarf and supplements. I think we're kind of in a place. In that place today, sort of,
Yeah, there's a lot of expansion and a lot of stuff that I think got put on the back burner around, I don't know, into 5th edition is now being brought back to the fore. Just a few years there where things just didn't happen. One of the things I found interesting was that the Genestealers at this point had been seen as, what was it? Having a deep blue carapace. Which that is modified. I mean, you could say, this is written from what happened on that planet, but it's interesting how far that has been expanded to now you can have other colors of carapace and whatnot.
Yeah. Yep. And it's probably based on like the Hive Fleet or whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of.
Well,
it's really interesting.
Just so everyone knows, we're looking at a picture from the Genestealer Cult army from a heavy metal page from probably White Dwarf, and there's all sorts of.
This is from the compilation.
Oh, it's from the compilation. Just these great things. I mean, they're older miniatures. They're painted in an older style as well. But just some really cool stuff. I mean, where you can actually look at this and go, all right, here's the beginning of where we're currently at with the Genestealer Cult. Although I do see a corn worshipping beastman on there.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a second. The compilation details how the infestation occurs. Mm-hmm. Like it'll put the egg in their host, and it's called the Genestealer's Kiss. The egg is described as more of a cancer than an egg.
Right.
Like it doesn't like hatch. It changes the victim, who gains some of the strength and characteristics of the Genestealer, but the primary change is to their reproductive system.
Oh, okay.
And the children of these infected people are called hybrids. Part Genestealer, part human, with the traits of the Genestealer being in the forefront. That first generation, they're very Genestealer-y. In this generation is capable of infecting other humans with their eggs, but these hybrids will be more human-looking as they go forward. This shouldn't be considered a blessing, because by the 4th generation, a hybrid's progeny can be human hybrid or even pure strain Genestealer. At this point in the lore, it matters not if the parents of these creatures, they will proudly dote and care for the children, no matter their appearance.
Yeah.
Which is it reminds me a lot of what do you call them? The little worms that infect birds and ants. Like they're kind of like make zombie ants and force the ants to like walk up into tall trees to be eaten by the birds, and the bird, it infects the bird's brains, and forces them to act in a weird way to further the organism that's infecting them. And that's the same thing we got going here. Yeah.
And that's also in that Steve Parker book as well. Sorry, he wrote a couple of scenes that were visually very evocative, and just reading this is kind of like giving me flashbacks. Not in a bad way, but just like, oh yeah, he wrote about that. Oh yeah, that was kind of a gross scene. All right, so in game terms, the units described in this book are as follows. The Genestealer Patriarch, which is a 100-year-old pure strain Genestealer who leads the whole thing. That's interesting. We then have 3rd generation hybrids, 4th generation hybrids, and pure strain Genestealers, as well as the Genestealer Magus, hybrid initiates, limousines, which I'm going to ask more about later, rogue psychers, and brood brother bands, who are the parents and siblings of the hybrid and the coven. The Genestealers are also often accompanied by the forces of chaos, mutants, beastmen, and the like, as a chaos cult is often a weak point in Imperial society that can be easy to infiltrate. Yeah, the limousine.
Yeah, a lot of the time. Yeah, the limousine. First of all, the Genestealer cults use whatever is on hand.
Yeah.
As a tool, and they're hiding in society as Imperial citizens.
Yeah.
So that's why the limousine in the past. We don't have limousines right now, but today we do use other civilian vehicles in the line, and we'll talk more about that as we talk about the modern Genestealer cult. But I thought it was really interesting that back in the day they kind of used the Chaos line to expand the Genestealer cult line, because the reason they did that is because a Chaos war, like a Chaos incursion, like our Chaos cult, was a good way for the Genestealers to get a foothold, because it was like a weak point in society.
Right.
So it's almost like the Genestealers would take over the Chaos taint, which is really interesting. I mean, it's no better or worse. It's terrible no matter what, right? So
well, what's interesting now is that the Genestealer cults are, instead of being affiliated with Chaos, they're now affiliated with the Imperial Guard.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
So humans aren't the only species that are susceptible to the cult infestation. One of the earliest examples of this, and this is older lore, is the Octarius, where the orcs suffered greatly from a Genestealer infestation. Genestealers don't prefer orcs as a method of invasion, but they'll take what they can get. I mean, biomass is biomass.
Yeah.
And very recently, a novel, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there's a novel that discusses the infestation of Eldar. Even the Tau aren't immune to Genestealer infestation. We'll talk more about that later, too.
I am curious about the Eldar Genestealer novel.
I'm not going to talk... Well, we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
By the time Andy... Because I think it's like a major reveal in that book, and I don't want to...
Yeah, you don't want to spoil it.
I don't want to mess it up. By the time Andy Chambers' 2nd edition Tyranids Codex was released in 95... it had been revealed that the Genestealers were a vanguard organism for the Hive Fleets.
Yeah.
Genestealers have been inexorably linked to the Tyranids ever since. It's part of the lore now. The concept of the Genestealer cult emerged around that time, like as a proper thing. described one example of a cult uprising which masqueraded as a religious movement that the ecclesiarchy failed to recognize as a threat. So that, like, they're not just using chaos; they're using the imperial cult as a way of bringing him in. Yeah, bringing in the four-armed emperor or whatever. So yeah, they got an incredible following that they had to bring in the Ultramarines and take care of business. In that codex, you used elements from the Tyranid Codex, Imperial Guard, and Chaos to create your cult's army, though many of the staple Genestealer units, such as hybrids and Magus, were still available for use in the game. I'm not sure if that was a supplemental thing or if it was in the main books. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I have that. I downloaded that second edition codex, but it was hard to get through because of the way the PDF was. But anyways, yeah, it was definitely a thing in second edition.
Okay. So by the time later editions of the game were released, the Genestealer cults became relegated to proxy army status. 5th edition in particular, with restrictive list building rules and fewer model choices, made it difficult to represent the Genestealer cult on the table. Then in 7th edition, do I need to cue, like, angels singing? Anyway. Salvation came to cult players around the world. Fans were blessed with a whole new range of highly detailed plastic models and a flavorful codex to go with them. With a new codex for 8th edition on the horizon, and it sounds like it's close, and a whole new run of models to supplement the army, it would be a shame not to take some time to go into detail about the modern morphology and lore of the Genestealer cult.
Yeah, and some of these models.
Yeah.
We'll talk about them later, but geez, this is looking really good. It's giving me hope for some of the other modern armies.
Yeah.
Like the Karajan Overlords and the Adeptus Mechanicus. I feel like we're going to get expansions in a similar way, like multiple waves, because they're pretty limited right now. Anyways, so yeah, the brood cycle of the modern Genestealer cults hasn't changed a ton, but it's been clarified and streamlined. A great deal has been made clear, which was once left to conjecture. Some might call these retcons, but like anything else in Warhammer, it's just a kind of a course correction to fit the times and tell the best story possible. It still starts off with a single Genestealer arriving on the host world. No different from any other countless billions infesting the galaxy, but it has an important destiny to fulfill. So upon delivering the Genestealer's kiss, it begins this process that will eventually transform it into a patriarch, like twice the size of a space marine and full of dark alien purpose.
Yowza. So, interestingly, the 7th edition codex doesn't go into as much detail of the Genestealer's kiss as older texts, though the process is essentially the same. The Genestealer enthralls its victim with the hypnotic gaze, then implants them with the Tyranid genetic material. This renders the victim not only a character of the parasite itself, but also an unnatural predisposition to follow the Genestealer as a sort of deific figure. These brood brothers form the vanguard of the infestation, and they give birth to the first generation.
Yeah. Just like before, the first generation are very Genestealer-y in nature. They're very horrific to behold. All of them have large heads, a pair of extra clawed arms, sharp teeth, tail spikes, purple skin, or whatever color skin, whatever.
Yeah.
Though they do vary in shapes and sizes, first generation hybrids do not speak in the human fashion. They still have like animalistic mouths.
Yeah.
Note that the early generations don't just happen at the start of an infestation. Each stage of the cycle is continuously happening as the cult progresses. So you'll have a first generation, second generation, but while you're having the second, third, and fourth generation, you're having more first generations begin.
Yeah.
So those are constant cycle of creating new cycles. Note that the early on, it's always like reinventing themselves too. So as a hive fleet draws near, their goal shifts from just propagation to having an army, destruction.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of creating beings with like fine motor skills, the first generation develops into these hybrid metamorphs who are born with like terrible bioweapons similar to those wielded by their Tyranid cousins. So even as the cult matures, so do their mutations change for different tasks as they are needed, as the time of the Hive Fleet's arrival gets closer.
So the first generation, pronounce that better, will mate with other human members of the cult and produce a second generation. These hunched and monstrous hybrids also possess extra limbs and other grotesque features, but their mouths can be employed for rudimentary speech, and their minds are capable of grasping the more fundamental niceties of human behavior. Second-generation hybrids are sometimes pressed into service alongside their more human kindred in heavy work detail and in combat roles involving heavy munitions, as their enhanced strength makes them perfect for such tasks. First and second generation hybrids are also known as acolytes, as they are the earliest and among the most monstrous form of hybrid. Similarly, aberrants are a grotesque offshoot of hybrid, which can occur at any time in the process. It is not known what external or internal force causes such extreme mutation, but aberrants are a massive and horrific product of this alien lifestyle. Alien life cycle. Oh, it's going to be a long day. The Abominant is an even larger and more monstrous creature similar to the Aberrant, just meaner. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you get these weird random mutations that create these monstrous, big, nasty Genestealer Cult organisms that just kind of happen. It's like this weird variance that occurs once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, second generation hybrids will mate with humans to create the third generation. These hybrids are even more upright and sapient than the second. One could mistake them for normal humans from a distance, though only the most obtuse would be fooled as they draw near. They possess ridged craniums and purple skin or whatever color. Mm-hmm. Some may be blessed with other mutations, often kind of nested or secreted away beneath their clothing. These hybrids can slink about in the underworld of human society, working to undermine the workings of the Imperium. These cultists are often used for sabotage and subterfuge. Then you have the fourth. The fourth generation are nearly indistinguishable from humanity. Their differences are more of a curiosity in the strange universe of 40K. Mm-hmm. These members of the cult are ones who walk among humanity. It's their job to sow discord at the highest possible levels of society and bring more believers into the fold. I know that, not everybody would be tricked by this, but like, we're not talking, at the super duper up, you're not going to have one of these people in charge of a planet unless something really weird happens.
Yeah.
Like before the actual overthrow happens, but they can pass as human workers and human, laborers and stuff. They could be low level officials and stuff if they played their cards right and hid their appearances.
Yeah. All right, so third and fourth generation hybrids are known as neophyte hybrids. They can operate machinery and fight in a more traditionally human way. In addition, the cult's Magus, a powerful psyker, hails from this generation, tending the Gestalt alien force's spiritual needs. In addition, when the cult must make war, a Primus is born into their midst, a military leader to whom the rank-and-file hybrids are subordinate. Newly released will be being known as the Biophagus, who is a medical professional tasked with not only spreading the infection directly, but coming up with ways of making the populace even more susceptible to influence. Also mentioned in the Vigilus book is the Nexus strategist, who is always plotting to infiltrate GW headquarters. Well, you got to get in there, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, true. And it's funny, like, when they showed that model, when they showed that model, someone almost immediately recognized it as GW headquarters.
Yeah, that's kind of impressive. That's impressive. I would not have noticed that because I don't know what GW looks like, to be perfectly honest.
So the neophyte hybrids, like the more human of them, they make use of whatever weapons and war machines they can get their hands on, such as chimeras, Leman Russ, sentinels. In addition, adaptable Genestealer Cult will also press civilian and industrial vehicles into service for the four-armed Emperor, including Goliath rock grinders, Achilles ridge runners, quads, bikes, and even limousines. So whatever toys you have at your disposal, you'll use, for the insurrection. I think that's the key thing to take away from the whole limousine situation.
Right.
People, I mean, they were funny. It's kind of adorable, but we don't have limousines as such now. But what we do have is, more military vehicles that are pressed into military service by the Genestealer Cult. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of these designs also in the Orc range, which have been converted into Orc vehicles. The Rock Grinder has elements of the Battle Wagon in it.
Yeah.
And the new Achilles Ridge Runner, there are elements of that design in some of the Orc buggies, the new Orc buggies. And it's obvious that the Orc versions are heavily influenced by these models. So I thought that was really interesting. Everybody's kind of utilizing these Imperial civilian and industrial machines in pressing them into military service.
Yeah.
In the modern lore, 4th generation hybrids complete the cycle by giving birth only to pure strain Genestealers. So where previously 4th generation could give birth to various different kinds of Genestealers, now it's just pure strain Genestealers. 4th generation parents are totally devoted to their progeny, and they care for these grotesque monstrosities and defend them from threats even unto their deaths.
Ew. Gross. Okay.
Yeah, ew.
The Genestealer Cult isn't just a rampant biological infestation. It is also a spiderweb of psychic domination. It all begins with the Patriarch, the originator of the infestation. This is a being of incredible power who has built a network of devoted followers over generations of plotting, building, devouring, and mating. The Patriarch is more than a simple Genestealer. They are a powerful force holding the cult together and directing it with a single psychic will to do the bidding of the Hive. The Genestealer Cult does not wage war in traditional sense. This is probably why they are so vexing to the Imperium, who employs a hammer and expects to find a galaxy full of nails. The hive mind has evolved not to simply wage full frontal war upon the worlds it conquers and devours. Instead, it has learned to send its vanguard as a cult of personality to bring societies to their knees in worship and, in essence, conquer themselves long before the first hive ship enters orbit. This is made evident by the odd parallels the Genestealer Cult have with more traditional forms of worship. Cultists paint their bony ridges in the colors of their cult and bear icons to their gods. They even bother to dress their feral aberrants in ceremonial robes, which rarely last long. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. So and I think a lot of Imperial commanders would scoff at the concept of the Tyranids engaging in psychological and political warfare.
Yeah,
and sabotage and espionage. It would be offensive to their minds.
Right.
But that is literally what's happening here. This is the Tyranid organism developing espionage.
Yeah. Well, some of the lore always states from commissars that orcs are dumb. Orcs are dumb and can't do anything. And then whenever they actually get on the battlefield, cunning, orcs are cunning but brutal. Although sometimes they're brutal yet cunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of ignorance does have, I mean, in a lot of ways, the ignorance of Imperial citizens is necessary.
Yeah.
But in a lot of ways, it does a lot of harm. Genestealer Cult they've developed it very much like a terrorist cell organization, like a terrorist cell. A terrorist organization is like broken up into
cells.
Self-sufficient cells which receive vague orders, like vague, not like or tasks, but just this is your purpose. Fulfill that purpose to the best of your ability. And the Genestealer Cult is segmented in the same way. It's bound by a single consciousness and united by this common predetermined purpose. But they're hard to pin down because there's no galaxy-spanning organization to conquer. Mm-hmm. You have to take them out kind of one at a time, and they hide in the underbelly of society. By their very nature, they operate in these self-sufficient cells. They wage war using insurrection, deception, assassination, and sabotage. Only when the Patriarch is certain they have the upper hand do they seek to use direct force. A Primus will rise to take command of the many disparate bands of hybrids and their brood brethren on a planet and swarm what remains of a world's human defenses. Of course, all the while, the cult will use the host planet's own industries to spread the infection further. The humble, standard Imperial shipping container has developed a somewhat foreboding quality in some sectors. Any one of them could contain a stasis pod, masking the life signature of a Genestealer, along with various legitimate goods ready to infect other systems throughout the segmentum. Evidence has shown that just one planetary infestation can lead to the infection of thousands of worlds. Mm-hmm. The cult on Gosar Quintus, which I think is the focus of one of the Death Watch books.
Yeah.
While eventually it was purged by the Death Watch under the command of Chaplain Cassius, was still able to infect an unknown number of worlds throughout the Ultima Segmentum prior to the Space Marines' arrival.
So, in time, the Patriarch's powerful psyche will hold sway over the entire planet. It is then that they will have the strength to send a beacon into the void, calling their true gods to feast. First, the Shadow of the Warp will fall over the world like a pall, blocking out the Astronomicon and sending Psychers into a blind madness. Then the Hive Fleet will appear in the sky, dropping spores and worse upon the world. The elated hybrids will, at first, greet their gods with open arms, crying with jubilation and waving banners high. They fight along their Tyranid kin, slaughtering the remaining population to the last soul. Finally, of course, the Tyranids will turn on their worshippers. By this time, the Patriarch, who was once worshipped as a god, has lost all semblance of its personality and has just become one of the many bioforms in the hive. They and the other pure-strain Genestealers immediately fall upon their parents and the rest of the hybrids. In the end, they are all just biomass for the digestion pools, and the cult dies in horror and regret. Oof.
Yeah, imagine if you will. Like, it's funny, they don't even bother letting allowing the humans or whatever species they've taken over to die thinking that they have won.
Yeah.
Instead, they actually die with the realization that they screwed up.
Yeah. And
it was all for nothing. And that's just the best. It's just so terrible. It's just so there are a few more stories in that are talked about in the codex. I will paraphrase. It's, the section that gives you like a timeline, the timeline section.
Oh yeah.
And I'll briefly touch on those just to give folks an idea of the kind of weird stuff that goes on with the Genestealer cults. So the aristocracy of New Gidlam fell to a cult and the gangers fight valiantly against them to no avail. I thought that was really interesting, where it's the aristocracy that falls to the cult, and the gangers have to try to fight them off. I thought that was like the gangers are the heroes of that story.
Yeah, that's wild. I have not read that story. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really neat. On the death world of Moraz 3, a rogue trader vessel crashes, and a single Genestealer in the menageries. They're like this. So this rogue trader has this menagerie of creatures.
Yeah.
And the one surviving Genestealer that was part of that menagerie sparks a cult uprising, which is pacified temporarily by a group of catechins, but then when they leave, they infest the planet again.
Yeah.
It shows how hard it is to actually cleanse the Genestealers from a planet. You might as well dust off and nuke the place from orbit.
Pretty much. Sure. Yeah, that calls for exterminatus right there.
Yeah. Makes me think we should start off this episode with... we should start off the episode with the theme for like the opening theme from Aliens. But then end it. We should close it out with the nuke, the music from the nuke scene. Dun, 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 dun. Anyways, a Farseer from Craftworld Uthway attempts to cleanse a space station of all human life, but they're thwarted by the mighty Black Templars. And within a year, several nearby planets, including the maiden world of Virgose, are corrupted by Genestealer cults. So
yeah, why not?
Just let the Eldar kill you. You'll be much better off.
Yeah.
Especially Uthway, because they know better. The Tau Sept world of Kisimien, whatever, is corrupted by a cult after the Earthcast gets a little too inquisitive. They're just like, oh, let's play with these fun genetic toys. What could possibly go wrong?
Nope.
So after 3 decades of war and quarantine, the ethereal Ongol declares the world cleansed. Now, whether that means the world is actually cleansed of Genestealer taint or Ongol is in league with the cult is anyone's guess.
Ooh.
So that's a cool army idea waiting to happen.
Yeah, that is.
Right? How neat would that be? Have like a Genestealer cult Tau army?
Yeah, that could be really interesting. That could be, that's definitely the narrative play. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we have this is an older piece of war that goes back into some of the other books. Is called the Xenos War.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot more to it than just this like one little section of it. But it's this Vostroyan Firstborn fight against the orcs on the scrap world of Dhaka.
Yeah.
And after laying waste to this, the orcs have this huge purple garden called Clawbeast. And they destroy it, but when they do, it cracks open and hundreds of Genestealers pour out and eat all the guardsmen. So, yeah.
Yeah, only orcs would keep Genestealers as pets to play with.
Well, I don't think they're kept as pets. I think it was a straight up orc Genestealer infestation.
Oof.
I think that's what they were getting at.
Oof.
They worship they're like, oh, this is our god now, because like all the Gargants are usually like visages of Gork and Mork.
Yeah,
like they're these big these are our gods in big metal beastie form. So instead, they were worshiping the Tyranids. They were worshiping the Genestealers, and they made a giant Gork, a giant Genestealer. And then Cult Tenebris is embroiled in a warp storm near Nurgle's garden. In an ironic turn of events, the cult is soon released into the galaxy to do what they do best, infect, but for someone else this time.
Oh, that is twisted.
Yeah.
That is
pretty great.
Super twisted.
It's pretty great. And that's kind of the general history. That's all that really exists that I could find out there of the Genestealer cult lore, and a lot of this is left up to all of us to develop. And I think that Games Workshop they're kind of doubling down on the Genestealer cult. They're adding a lot more units and stuff going forward, and they've made them a major player in the Vigilus campaign.
Yeah.
They were a focus of Tooth and Claw, which was a Space Wolves, Primaris Space Wolves, and Genestealer Cult box set. And they also have a strong presence in the first of the Imperium Nihilus campaign set, which is centered on Vigilus. Let's take a quick break. We've talked a lot about this.
Yeah.
And I'd like to take a quick break, hit the potty, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the lore as it's presented on Vigilus, only pertaining to the Genestealer Cult.
I just want to invite you to Frayed Paintbrush Hobby Progress Facebook group. It is a positive group set up to motivate us to hobby and then share it with all the other members. At the beginning of the month, post up your monthly challenge on the page, and then at the end of the month, you post the completed work for all to see. No pressure, just fun among friends. Once again, that's Frayed, F-R-A-Y-E-D Paintbrush. Hope to see you there.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows, where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
Hey mofos, are you looking for more Warhammer 40K video content? Well, the Scarred Cast posts regular battle reports as well as tactics and strategy videos. Be sure to check out all the cool hobby content for the avid tabletop wargamer. That's Scarredcast, Skared on YouTube.
And we're back. So let's talk about Vigilus.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this information appears in the Imperium Nihilus Vigilus Defiant campaign book, which is a really nice, it's a well put together book. I talked about it in one of our
Prototype episode?
Prototype episodes,
Yeah.
Thank you. But it was in very brief terms. We'll be going into it in more detail as we go forward. I'm sure at this point it's like 35 days time we're going to have another book to talk about. But yeah, I definitely want to do another Masters of the Forge Altar of War episode. I want to start playing some of these scenarios too.
Yeah.
Especially with my orcs and whatnot. So you'll hear more about these campaign books going forward as we delve into the details of them. Today we're delving into the Genestealer Cult.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the book, but I have not read a whole lot of it yet because I've been reading other stuff. But I think I'm going to really start pushing that instead of whatever I'm going to read next. I think that'll be what I go ahead and push to the forefront. All right, so let's talk about Vigilus. Vigilus is a planet situated on the far side of the Nachmund Gauntlet.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it looks kind of German. So Nachmund Gauntlet, which is one of two stable routes through the Cicatrix Maledictum. Yeah, I should go through and check to see what I select before I select it to. Little behind the scenes, we do write notes. As we're going, we select the paragraphs we're going to read. I need to start reading through the names on these. All right, so stable route through the Cicatrix Maledictum. The continent-sized hives of Vigilus are bursting at the seams with refugees from throughout the Imperium Nihilus. Of course, with that comes the threat of Genestealer Cult infestation, among other things. Not the least of which is a massive orc wog, because, when in doubt, just add orcs. You know, it's kind of like adding salt to food. Well, you want to taste more like itself? Anyway, sorry. The cult had been months from their planned uprising, but the orcs had forced their hand. While Genestealer cults will work to support the Imperium in situations such as this, the Magos Biologists on Vigilus had rooted out the cult and were sending Skitarii into the hives to cleanse them of the Genestealer threat. This put them in a tough spot. They were forced to retaliate. I have been reading some of the book, and I'm at this kind of area in the book. So in Vigilus Defiant, we learned that it was the Pauper Princes of Chancer's Vale. Man, alliteration hurts someday. God, Pauper Princes, that's not even a tongue-tire, but it's giving me problems. Anyways, the Pauper Princes had sent forth the Genestealers to Vigilus in 210.33 Previo Vigilus time. Only one made it, but that's all that was needed to begin the infestation. The Patriarch, called the Grandsire Worm, saw the winds of fate change when the Great Rift tore across the sky. He orchestrated an attack. So when the Eye of Terror exploded into this rift, that's when he decided, yep, it's go time. So it was not the rift which brought down the void shields of the Hive Sprawl and Vigilus, but the Pauper Princes. Which I think that's pretty cool. That does show some... I'm really impressed with the book, with what I've read. I haven't read the entire thing, but you know the short parts in there I've been really happy with. Yeah.
I thought that the way that they're doing time now is fantastic.
Yeah.
Every planet, the time frame on every planet is now based on when the rift appeared in the sky.
Yeah.
So it's either years previo or years post.
I like that.
It goes years, point, and then the point, I forget. I think it's 0.3 per, or 0.1 per 3 days or something like that. It's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, it works really well for frame of reference. And it's based on each planet. So some planets will be, 100 post, while another planet will be 200 post, because time is crazy in the galaxy right now.
Timey-wimey.
But at least you can always reference it back to when the Cicatrix Maledictum appeared in the sky.
Yeah.
So the orcs swiftly, so this is on Dirkden Hivesprawl specifically. The orcs noticed the shields were down due to the fact that they were constantly daring each other to venture near the hive cities and skirt the barrier in like these dangerous high-speed maneuvers.
The most orc thing that they could do. Just
yes. Hand-picked units of the Vigilant Guard, who are kind of the local PDF, were sent out into the wastes to hold the line, ostensibly just long enough for the tech priests to fix the problem. Of course, these troopers were all unaugmented humans, while those who remained in the city were mostly hybrids.
Yeah, good
so
idea.
So the Pauper Princes, they raised the shields again, and the troopers trapped in the wastes were slaughtered by the orcs. Meanwhile, the cultists within Dirkden Hivesprawl swiftly took whatever power they didn't already have in a bloody insurrection. Terrified refugees poured from Dirkden Hive into Hyperia Hive. So like these giant walls connect one hive to the other, and you can transport people between them in those. So like, I don't think the shields protect those walls, but those walls are super...
They're flimsy.
Like ferrocrete, whatever, yeah.
They're porous.
Anyways, yeah, so among the refugees, of course, are more hybrid neophytes.
Yeah.
Hidden among them. Dirkden Hivesprawl had been chosen as a primary target because of its kind of social unrest and lack of resources. It was kind of a path of least resistance for the cult. But simultaneously, the Pauper Princes assaulted Otek Hivesprawl. This was a much more stand-up fight, and there were a lot of casualties. But Otek is kind of it's a linchpin Hivesprawl, because of the because of the hollows, which are these deep cisterns where much of the dry world's water is kept. Mm-hmm. The grandsire worm had plotted and prepared his ascendancy for 200 years, so the victory in Otek was inevitable, regardless of how difficult it was. Once they had won Otek, the Pauper Princes began the industrious work of fouling the planet's water supply there.
Eesh. Man, some of the stories and lore they come up with is just... ugh. Alright, so Primaris battle leader Haldor Icepelt from Blackmane's Great Company. Ooh, Space Wolves? Man. I feel dirty now. Okay, anyway. Some Space Wolves found himself and his strike force through happenstance or bad luck at Vigilus at just the right moment to hear the world's call for aid. He knew the world's importance and therefore ordered their vessel, the Wind of Fimnar, blasted its way through the Orc blockade, and they commenced their ground attack. The Space Wolves, with their acute senses, made ground where the Magos of the Adeptus Mechanicus had failed. And they brought the might of the Volca Fenrica to the cult of Thirsting Worm in Otek Hive Sprawl. There, the cult was poisoning the water. So, after much sacrifice and cunning, Icepelt thwarted the Thirsting Worm's plans, though at the cost of Otek Hive Sprawl and its water supply. So, we burned the village to save the village. Cool.
Yeah, that's really what had, like, they collapse. They collapse a huge portion of the city to stop the transmission of water.
Yeah, that is wild. And then it was in the Hive Sprawl of Megaborealis, right under the noses of the Adeptus Mechanicus, where the center of the power of cult of Vigilus lie. Megaborealis was impressive to anyone who beheld it, but the hive held deeper secrets. Chief among them were secret blackstone veins. It was here where the grandsire worm himself held court. He had gained control of several mining clans. One such group, the Gene sect of the Writhing Worm, got hold of a vortex missile. Yeah, because that's always going to be a happy ending. Yeah. Okay, so using stolen codes and body parts of high-ranking officials... I've got to go through and read this. Seriously, stolen codes and body parts of high-ranking officials. You know, guys... Well,
yeah, I mean, if you need a thumbprint identification, just take the hand.
Yeah, and if you need an eye identification, put an eye on a stick. There you go. Ugh.
Yeah, you're good.
Gross. Okay, so the cult has stolen to the berths of the Mechanicus Titan assets and detonated the missile right beneath the Warlord Titan. Aww. Dominus Rex. That's sad. Those things cost a lot. Okay. So anyways, the resulting immolation also touched off the other Titans in the Maniple, destroying all of them in one fell swoop before they'd even had a chance to power up. Yeah, well, you know, Titan weaponry is there to destroy other Titans. I'm sure that... Yeah, that was a nice
Titans
explosion.
just sleep. You don't turn off a Titan.
No,
You just power it down slightly. So if you have a... Yeah, that's a lot of plasma. That is a lot of dead machines. And that shows you the mindset of the Genestealer Cult. They would rather destroy those important assets than try to use them, because it's not their goal is not to destroy all life on the planet. It's their goal to take the planet for the Four-Armed Emperor.
Yeah.
So best to take those weapons of mass destruction out of the picture, because that would destroy biomass. Paranoia set in among the elite of Vigilus. They sent out Astra Militarum and Arbites, of course, to kind of try to quell the uprisings, but they mainly focused on protecting themselves. This made things worse. Mm-hmm. They consolidated their power and their fighting strength, leaving the common clay of Vigilus society largely undefended and abandoned. So people stopped showing up to work. Trade routes, like between the hive sprawls, broke down, victims of orc predation. In every possible way, Vigilus became ripe for further cult conquest. Even the war against the orcs became the perfect distraction for the Pauper Princes to take the advantage every chance they got. Who had time to consider an enemy when a hidden enemy when a raving, bloodthirsty horde was in your face?
Yeah.
It just makes sense. It soon became clear that there was no corner on Vigilus that hadn't been infiltrated by the Pauper Princes. No echelon of society where their presence was not felt. Each hive was home to a different and independent gene sect, each with its own magus, primus, and other support personnel. They all worked in concert under the auspices of the Patriarch, and there were rumors, however, that the Grandsire Worm was not one being, but several upon the world of Vigilus. Such was the ability to react to events so swiftly and almost seemed to be in many places at once. This, of course, is conjecture.
That's interesting.
I predict... So I don't know about you. I'm going to make a little prediction. Book 2 is going to be Chaos.
Yeah.
Obviously. Book 3, maybe a little Imperium and Chaos fighting a common foe.
That wouldn't surprise
Wouldn't
me.
that be interesting? That would be a really... I know some people would not like that at all.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you have the Great Devourer knocking on your back door, maybe it's best to put aside some of your fighting.
Yeah, you put aside hostilities to go after the other guy, because, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would like, if I may, to just jump right into... So first of all, isn't this... that lore... I just picked and chose all of the lore having to do with the Genestealer cults. There's a lot there.
Yeah, it's
in Vigilus.
There's a lot of stuff in that book. That's why I haven't gotten through it. It's just there's a massive amount of information.
It's huge.
Yeah.
There is so much in here, and it's hard to sort it all out because it's kind of all intertwined with itself. So, but I definitely want to look into this some more, and I'm not sure how to break it down. So I think next time I'll try to come up with a way to break another little piece out, and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can talk about the some of the narrative gaming aspects of the book. Anyways, let's talk about... I don't think we need another break, do you?
I'm good. Let's do Genestealer Cults on your tabletop.
Yeah, so we're going to start by talking about just the units. And so, obviously, we're not going to go into the rules too much.
No.
Just talk about the army as how you can field it from a narrative perspective. And then we'll talk about some of the cool new narrative rules and stuff from the Vigilus book.
Yeah.
So the Genestealer Cult is broken up into... First you have your Patriarch, which I'm not sure I would field that a lot. I mean, he's pretty cool, but he's this big Tyranid model who probably shouldn't be risking his life.
No.
Or its life in every engagement.
Yeah, I would only... thinking about that, because after what we talked about, he shouldn't be fielded unless it is the final battle of the... what am I looking for? The final battle of the narrative campaign.
Right. Probably not. And or at the very least, it has to be super important.
Yeah.
It has to be like everything hinges on this one action, so the Patriarch shows up.
Yeah.
In the old rules, at least, they have like a really neat like a lookout sir ability.
Yeah.
Actually, like you can actually take wounds for the Patriarch, and then the other characters if you have nearby cult units,
right?
Which is pretty cool. Anyways, for the regular units, and you have models for these, you have acolytes and neophyte hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
Acolytes are the first and second generation, so we're talking about the models with the first generation are the ones that look very animalistic, and the second generation are very they're very mutated, but at least they have more human mouths.
Right.
And these are represented by one kit. So you buy one kit, and it can either be first and or second. Sorry, buddy. You can mix first and second generation.
Yeah.
In that unit type, and you have acolyte hybrids, and they're just they can carry guns, and they have suits and stuff. They have like the mining suits, which are really cool. Mm-hmm. The acolyte icon ward, who is a character, and that character has buffs. I would definitely I would have at least one of those, just because it's cool to play off the religious aspect of the Genestealer Cult, and that character is definitely kind of a signifier of that. And then you have hybrid metamorphs. Hybrid metamorphs are the ones we were talking about, so you would use the metamorphs if your Genestealer Cult is reaching for the end game, because that's when they start coming out is when the Hive fleet is on its way. Is going to be there soon. That's when the metamorphs start showing up, because instead of holding guns, they all have like bone swords and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Then, or you could come up with your own narrative reason for that. Maybe they're being developed. Maybe they're being developed because you have an important offensive that's going to be happening soon, and the Patriarch has willed that hybrid metamorphs are going to be required for it. But they're like shock troops. Then you have another box. And this is interesting. It is kind of two. Okay. So right now it's kind of the same unit. So they're the neophyte hybrids. Mm-hmm. They're third and fourth generation, the more human ones. Right. The third generation are the guys in like the mining suits. So they all have mining suits on. They have like the ridged heads and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And they're a little more alien. Like sometimes they have an extra arm or whatever. And they all have they're the kit that you pick up, and it has all the mining equipment, like the mining lasers and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit bigger. And they generally, they're like riding around in Goliaths, and they have auto guns and mining weapons. And then you have a different neophyte hybrid squad who are more Astra Militarum guys. I think they're kind of they're supposed to represent the fourth generation.
Right.
And they have more traditional weapons. And when you buy the kit for the third generation is neophyte hybrids, and the kit for fourth generation is neophyte hybrid squad. And those are basically, it's an Astra Militarum squad with a Genestealer Cult upgrade kit. And those can be like a heavy weapons team, and they have las guns instead of auto guns. You can have Leman Russ, and they can be in Leman Russ and Sentinels, and those are part of the Genestealer Cult army.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the other like characters and stuff that you get in this army.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so some of our other characters, we have the Primus, and we have the Magus, and those are actually in the codex, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then we have new characters, which I don't have the codex, so I don't know exactly who's in there. I will be picking up the new codex because I do have some Genestealer Cult from one of the box sets. I don't remember which one.
I think the
Kill Team box.
Kill Team box.
Yeah, that's where I have them from. So
the new
and then
characters
we also
are cool. You have like a military guy.
Yeah.
The guy he's got the map of Games Workshop.
Oh, is that dude
office. In there? Yeah.
Cool.
And there's also this doctor.
Uh-huh.
Who is used to not just convert people into Genestealer Cult, but also to make the populace more susceptible. So like chemically changing adding chemicals to the food and water to make them more susceptible to suggestion and stuff. Really interesting.
I'll have to go through and crack that box open. I've got it. I just, it wasn't a big priority to build. I was more interested in all the other goodies in there, like the
no, he's not in there.
Oh, okay.
He's in the new release. He's in the new release. Those what you got are neophyte hybrids, third generation neophyte hybrids.
Okay. Oh, cool. So yeah, I need to go crack that box, see what's going on in there. Let's see, we also have Aberrants, which were, if I remember right, that was the second generation that kind of went weird, right?
Yeah, those are like, in general, they could be from any generation, but they go weird. They go super weird, yeah. Those are like the big, bulky guys.
And the Abominants are also typically what happens right when the Tyranid High Fleet shows up, right? Yeah.
Abominants are like Aberrants, except really, really big.
Got it.
And they can happen at any time.
Yeah, when the new book is released, I'll pick that up because, one, I'd like to read the lore. Two, I like to keep, up to date with that, especially if I have models for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I mean? I can, and I've got the Kill Team book, and like last year, what was my goal was to go through and do, combat patrols for a lot of different races, and I got a few done, but I really do want to kind of work on, maybe just kill teams of each of these factions. That might be easier to put together. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun way to do it. I like that. I think you could, if folks want to use some of their old models, like if folks really wanted to go ahead and do like a limousine or whatever.
Right.
Some of the new models work well with that. Like the Goliath and whatever.
Right.
The Goliath transport. You could use the rules for the Goliath transport with your limousine. Why not? Right?
Yeah,
it's really cool.
If I remember correctly, I think it's, this is a third party. I think it's Wargamer exclusive or something that has a Genestealer Cult limousine. Like they've actually made their, but I don't remember I think it might be Wargamers, but I could be wrong. It's in one of those highly detailed resin, shops that has some really cool stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things you could use in the Genestealer Cult army to make it more unique. Like you could use the mining equipment from that to make your own creations from like the Munitorium shipping.
Oh yeah, the shipping containers. Yeah.
Yep. With the like cranes and stuff, that would be really cool. And if I were gonna do a Genestealer Cult terrain project, it would definitely include like a lot of those shipping containers and stuff. I think Peachy has a how-to on how to do graffiti, so like Genestealer Cult graffiti, which would be really neat. Yep. Yeah. So that would be fun.
That would be fun. Yeah.
I think it'd be a really cool hobby project to do Genestealer Cult. These models are amazing. Like the weird space age mining equipment, like the armor is really, really neat and really it's Imperium, but it's very alien at the same time. It's kind of Doctor Who, like 1970s Doctor Who, it feels like to me.
Right.
It's like this weird padded space armor. And I think even if you didn't want to do Genestealer Cult, you could do almost an Imperial army with different, if you swap out the heads on some of these, on the third generation, those are the neophyte hybrids, you could swap out the heads and do an actual just army with those. You could go, if you wanted, if you wanted to do Imperial army for the Horus Heresy, you could do. I would definitely go ahead and try using the mining suit guys, the neophyte hybrids for that, because I think that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Gorgeous models.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I think Johnny from the Sons of Heresy, I think he was doing like a mining company for their campaign. Like if I were doing something like that, I would just use these models and just swap out the heads.
Oh yeah, that was the season 2 of the Sons of Heresy where they were doing the Zone Mortalis type campaign. Yeah, I know.
The king
yeah.
beyond the belt.
Yeah. Yeah, the belters. Yeah. I remember that. I'd forgotten about that stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. That would be a fun project.
Yeah,
think.
that
It
would be
gorgeous, I think, too. And you could swap out some of the parts and swap out some of the mining stuff with some of the Lehman Russ and, really, really go to town with it. I think back in the day, they used to use the drills, like the boring drills with Genestealer Cult. So if you're playing a narrative game, if you're doing a narrative campaign, I would feel free to go ahead and use the termite and stuff, the Forge World models with these.
Oh, yeah.
With this army. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially for, a lot of the lore talks about how the Genestealer cults come out of these breeding pits and they attack from below. Yeah. So, using the termite and other burrowing models with this army makes a whole lot of sense. I don't think it would be a big deal to do that.
No, that would, this is interesting. I had not really thought about, Genestealer Cult was never really on my radar as a player or as narratively. But, the more we talk about that, the more I think of, you could use this or you could use that. This would really work in some of the, there are some Horus Heresy players who do want to play against Xenos just because, they want to do Great Crusade stuff. So, that would be that'd be an interesting way to set that stage. Right,
I agree, and I just think this is just a really, really fun. I've seen some of these armies, and I prefer it. I prefer it when people use the actual Genestealer Cult units. I using it as an excuse to take Lehman Russ. I don't know. That's not my jam. But I really like the infantry. They have a lot of options. That's why they use it in the Kill Team box, because there's so many options for these kits. You can make anything. So definitely strongly recommend those kits. And I'm really looking forward to the new kits. Like the Dune Buggy is really cool.
Yeah.
And you have the what is it? The quad racer, like the quad ATV. That's super neat. I like that. And the guys on motorcycles. And I love that. Oh, you saw that they're doing female heads for the new kits?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
That's super great. I really like that. Yeah. I like that a lot. No, I'm have a baby coming. I can't start a new army. Stop it. Stop it.
Well, Carl and Adon talk about how every time they do a show of force that, people go and purchase new armies, and sometimes even they purchase the armies. So,
Yep. So, all right. Do you want to talk about, let's talk about the rules and vigilists that pertain to the Genestealer cults. Let's start with the specialist attachments. I'll start off. I'll do the Anointed Throng. How does that sound?
Cool,
which is on page 186 of your hymnals. So the Anointed Throng are these. It's based on the Abominants and the Aberrants, which they're the ones that can happen at any time in the life cycle of the cult, and they're just these crazy genetic offshoots that just strangely happen. And I think it's kind of like I think it's the hive mind testing things out. Sometimes nature just tries things out to see if they'll work, right? There are these random mutations that happen sometimes. So it's just like the hive mind's way of saying, hey, let's try this. Well, that didn't work. That's fine. So there's these so the the aberrants are units of smaller monsters, and the abominants are these big character monsters, okay? So it's 1 CP to buy into this detachment. This specialist attachment. And this is really great if you're really into the monsters of the Genestealer Cult. So if you want a bunch of crazy monsters in your army, and maybe you have this menagerie that, Primus or is controlling, and or maybe your army is from a world with a lot of weird radioactive issues or chemical issues. Like there are a couple cults that are actually based on chemical world, like worlds that produce chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
If you look in the codex, it gives you examples of some cults. So maybe your cult is from a world where there's been a lot of genetic manipulation. Perhaps this is the way that you do that one Tau world where the Tau were genetically manipulating the Genestealers, and they ran afoul, right?
Yeah.
So it's 1 CP to buy into it. It adds Anointed Throng to all of your aberrants and abominants. The Warlord trait you can take gives you +1 to charge when you're within 6 inches of your Warlord. So that means you could, if you make an Abominant your Warlord, all your aberrants and abominants near them will have +1 to their charge, which is really good. Like, you going from a 9-inch charge to an 8-inch charge is a big deal.
Yeah, that is.
The relic is the Blessed Sledgehammer. Graced by the Patriarch himself, this power sledgehammer is saturated with the psychic energy of the Brood, not only making it lighter to carry, but imbuing it with terrible power. So ×2 strength for a big monster like that, -4 AP, that's really good. D6 damage. But it does a minimum of 3, so it's like 3 to 6 damage. So if you roll a 1 or a 2 on your damage, it does 3 instead.
That's not too bad.
That's really cool.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a giant blessed sledgehammer. You put a big Genestealer Cult symbol on it and put some glow on it. It'd be pretty cool.
It just screams to me Monty Python.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yeah.
The Holy Hand Grenade?
Yeah.
I really feel like if you do this detachment, your Warlord, this Abominant, like the Abominant, I think it comes with the Tooth and Claw box. I think if you're going to do this, your Abominant needs to look a little more intelligent, kind of like Nork Degdog.
Yeah.
You should definitely do some kind of, give him a big hat or something to make that Abominant look a little bit more in charge of things.
Give him a little bit of extra
Give him
bling.
some oomph. Give him a little bit of love. Yeah. Then we have the stratagems. The first one is Devotion Till Death. So this allows them to pile in and fight when they die. So it's 2 CP. These are the start of the fight phase. So if any models die, they get to fight anyways. Then you have, for 1 command point, you have Fight for the Anointed One. You reroll 1s to wound for a unit of aberrants within 6 inches of an abominant.
Okay.
So that's really cool. Yeah, that's really nice. And so all of these, this is a really fun narrative, special. All of them are, though.
Yeah.
All of these specialist attachments help you tailor your army in a way that makes sense for the lore of your army. And the Anointed Throng definitely makes your group of aberrants and abominants more vicious and feral, and they get really fighty, which is nice.
That's pretty interesting.
Do you want to talk about the Deliverance Brood Surge?
Yeah.
On page 187 of our hymnals?
So I do not have my hymnal nearby. I'm not sure exactly where it is. So Adam's going to help me with the numbers when I need them.
No problem.
So the Deliverance Blood Surge Specialist Attachment. So this is going to buff your hybrids and your Goliath trucks. So I don't have the book with me, but I'm assuming that this is going to be a high-speed moving detachment, right?
Yeah, you're gonna want a yes.
Okay, because the Warlord trait for this is you reroll advance and charge within 6 inches of the Warlord, which screams to me, hey, move, Our relic is Vial of the Grandsire's Blood, which adds +1 leadership within 6 inches of the Warlord, or is that within 6 inches of the relic?
The person holding the relic, yeah.
So once per game, one infantry model adds 2 attacks and has a strength buff. So that's interesting. Plus 1 leadership
blood or whatever.
Yeah. And the stratagem, which the first to draw blood, and
it's only 1 CP.
So 1 CP, plus 1 to wound rolls for a unit that charged this turn.
Nice.
Then we have, let's see, is Reckless Maneuver another stratagem?
Yep, 1 CP.
And that's also 1 CP? Okay. Units embarked on a Goliath truck can disembark after moving, but die in a dice roll of 1 and can't end movement within 9 inches of the enemy. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Move and then, scoot.
Move and disembark and then charge. But the best you can manage is a 9-inch charge.
Yeah.
So that's fair.
But the dying on a dice roll of 1 reminds me of what was the old dangerous terrain check?
Gorka Morka. Like you jump if you fall off the vehicle. Yeah, you're like launching yourself off the vehicle as it charges forward. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, man, why not? What's gonna happen? What's the worst that can happen?
The Deliverance Brood Surge is kind of supposed to be this like group of transports running into hold a vital location.
Yeah.
So they're just packed with dudes and they move forward to claim blood. Quote, claim first blood in order to impress their patriarch. So.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely something for a fast-moving detachment. Mm-hmm. You don't want anything that's lumbering. Should we talk about the battle? And what I
like about this,
or no, we'll stay with
the You go ahead. You go ahead and talk about the battle zone. But I just want to say what I really like about this is there's no detachment that says, "Oh, this makes you a better thing at what you do already."
Yeah.
So there's nothing that says, "Oh, this makes you Genestealer Cult except better than other Genestealer Cult." No, it takes a specific idea, a specific list build in that army and makes it more interesting when played that way.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about these.
Well, I think the complaints I've been hearing have been specifically that people are afraid that it's going back to the formations of 7th edition. And
I wouldn't worry about that at all.
Which, would be a bit of a concern, but I don't see the same stuff happening. It doesn't look like it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
No.
So the next thing up is the Battle Zone, Genestealer Infestation, if you want to turn to page 159 in your hymnal. I think Adam gave me this one because this reminds me a lot of Space Hulk or Zone Mortalis stuff. So you have 6 blips, start near the center of the battlefield, and are moved by the players at the start of each battle round. When a blip is within 6 inches of a player's unit, 2d6 Genestealers are revealed and they have at it. So, yeah, I find that exciting.
That's really awesome, right?
Yeah.
I want to play with this so bad. It makes me want to just have Genestealers. I guess that's why, right?
Yeah.
It's to get you to want to have a bunch of Genestealers. But it's cool. And there's rules for their Burst from the Shadows, Predatory Instincts. There's special rules for determining the behavior of the Genestealers. Helps you adjudicate them. Most narrative players they'll do whatever anyways, but it's nice to have rules for stuff and how to use them. And it gives you the stats for the Genestealers at the bottom here in case you don't have the codex. And you can use that for any game.
Oh man, I've
the stats are right here. Yeah, it's really cool. I think they're basically just Genestealers, but
I dig that. Of course, you have to have 6 blips. Each blip is 2d6 Genestealers, so you need to have 72 Genestealers at the most, or run some undersized stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that is cool. I do like that.
So we have in the book, we have Crucible of War missions, which are not specific to any kind of army or scenario, like thing that happens in the book. Mm-hmm. But you also have echoes of war, which reflect one of the events in the book, and you're meant to use specific armies. And the one for the Genestealer Cult is called Behead the Viper. Mm-hmm. It starts with in one corner a 12-inch square where you deploy an escort of an imperial escort.
Okay.
And in the other corner you have the safe zone where the escort is supposed to finish. And basically the Imperials win if the escort makes it to the finish. So these are this is representing the nobility of Durkaden Hivesprawl trying to escape the Genestealer Cult infestation.
Got it. Okay.
So the defender picks a transport of 8 power level or less that can't fly. And the escorts and the transport can't make up more than a third of the power level in the army. And they're placed in that escort deployment zone in the far corner. And then the rest of your units are placed in this garrison zone, which is adjacent to the safe zone. So it's 2 12-inch squares that are adjacent to the exit zone. Mm-hmm. Any enemy units that are in cult that can be set up in cult ambush have to be.
Oh, okay.
And I think cult ambush is a thing that's still going to happen, but I think the rules are probably going to change when we get the new codex.
Yeah.
I like that we waited, or I like that we didn't wait for the new codex to talk about this army, because I'd be too afraid we get bogged down in the rules. Yeah. And we're really just interested in the lore, so it's cool that we're actually waiting. And when the codex comes out, we'll just do a quick prototypes episode on it, and probably also an Altar of War as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So any other units that aren't set in cult ambush, like the attacking units, they can arrive along any of the 2 long battlefield edges, no closer than 9 inches from defending units as well. So they just kind of arrive from reserve. Like the attacker starts with no models on the battlefield.
Okay.
So as I said, if the transport ends the game or is at any point wholly within the safe zone, which is again the 12-inch by 12-inch square on the opposite corner, the defender will win automatically. Otherwise, if the escort transport is brought to 0 wounds, it's not destroyed, like you don't explode it.
Yeah.
Instead, you just leave it where it is, and it's counted as immobilized.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And it basically becomes the objective. So whoever has the most number of models within 9 inches at the end of a random game length wins the game.
Huh. Okay.
So it basically becomes a big, wide objective at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And so it's almost a really slow Black Hawk Down scenario.
Yeah, that does seem like it is. Interesting.
You can actually, if you can repair the vehicle, you can actually repair it from 0 wounds to positive wounds.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't go to negative, so if it goes to 0 wounds, you can use your Tech Priest and Engine Seer to fix it and get it moving again.
Interesting. Yeah, that looks like it could be a really fun, Echo of War mission. Some real interesting things there. Does it say that you have to be? It has to be, of course, Genestealer Cult, but does the defender have to be Imperium? I mean, it has to be Imperium, of course. But does it have to be like Astra Militarum, or can it be Space Marines? Or
technically speaking, you could use this for any.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could really just use. I mean, if you're not set up in cult ambush, then you just arrive on the battlefield edges. However, you have, in all of these Echoes of War missions, you have special stratagems that might benefit a specific army better. But I think they were pretty careful. For example, one of the attacker stratagems is rigged explosives.
Yeah.
Use this stratagem at the start of your shooting phase. Pick a terrain piece and roll d6 for each unit within 3 inches. On a 4+, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. That's very general. But then you have Haywire Emitter, which is 2 command points. Use this stratagem at the end of your movement phase. Pick a unit of Neophyte hybrids from your army. Have the move characteristic of all enemy vehicle units within 8 inches of that unit until the start of your next turn. So, like, they're put in... You get them really close to the transport, and they're emitting this EMP disruption field that slows the vehicle down.
Okay.
And that's specific to Neophyte hybrids. You could say it could be anybody. You could say it could be someone else, but I think they pick Neophyte hybrids because they are the 4th generation and they're more intelligent.
Right. Yeah, the more human looking.
They use machinery. Yeah, they don't want you using aberrants and stuff. So if you do use that for a different army, make sure it's someone who would be able to use the machinery, right? Yeah. Not corn hounds, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, every one of these Echoes of War missions are awesome. They have mission veterans. And it's like a pre-game. It's a pre-game ability that you can give. So for the Genestealer Cult, it's Goliath Truck is Zeta 4Q. Attacker mission veteran stratagem. So durable was this Goliath truck that its crew thought the Patriarch had bestowed his blessing upon it. During the mission, it proved critical in blocking escape routes. Pick a Goliath truck from your army to be the Goliath Truck Zeta 4Q. This unit's rugged construction ability ignores wounds on a 5 or a 6. And then you have Defender mission veteran stratagem, Drop Force Poseidon. Assigned directly to the ruling nobles and their protection, Drop Force Poseidon fought with honor until the last to defend the armored transport from the vile Genestealer cultists. Pick a unit from Tempestus Scions from your army to be Drop Force Poseidon. This unit automatically passes morale tests while it is within 6 inches of the escort. In addition, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for this unit while it is within 6 inches of the escort. So if you don't use those mission veterans, you get +1 command point.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. It's an interesting way to set that up. Okay.
Here's a cool one. 3 command points. Emergency escort transfer. This is the Defender stratagem. Use this stratagem at the end of your movement phase. If the escort is within 1 inch of another friendly transport with a power rating of 8 or less that cannot fly and that does not have a unit embarked, that transport becomes the escort, and the original escort becomes the normal model. You can only use this stratagem once per battle. So you can switch. You can move the. You can move the VIPs from one escort to the other. That's a great stratagem for this.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
8 power level or less. Okay, so...
I like Torox.
Yeah, Torox.
Chimera. I said Chimera. Chimeras, that sort of thing.
Rhinos.
So, what a fun mission.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can be done with that one real quick, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could definitely use... they've had missions like this before, but... really fleshing it out with stratagems that make a bunch of sense. I think that really helps. And this is great. This is a great one for the Genestealer Cult. So I would definitely try this out. If you're a cult player or if you're doing something like this is a great ambush type mission for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, I would definitely love to look more into these Echoes of War missions. Maybe that's what we'll do in the next episode. Maybe we'll look at these all of these narrative missions in detail.
Yeah.
But I would hate to enumerate them, so we should definitely come up with ways of enhancing them for narrative, for other narrative means.
Right.
Other armies and stuff. So maybe that's something we'll look at in the next episode. Okay, so Genestealer Cult, dude, these guys are super fun.
They seem to be.
But there's
They
a
seem
lot
pretty
of room for
interesting.
lot of room for growth too, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot more room for lore, and I'm glad they chose them as one of the primary factions in Vigilus. That way, there can be a lot more explored.
Yeah, I mean, it's there to be explored. They just, I mean, it's been one of those cults, or it's been one of the armies that people have been devoted to for, editions, many editions, multiple editions. Mm-hmm. And, now they had the chance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree. And people have carried the torch for a long time, like through the dry years of 5th edition matched play mentality. So a lot of people still carried that Genestealer Cult torch, and they're getting their just desserts. These models are just gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's all sorts of fun stuff that can be done with them as well. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, I'm actually looking at some of them, like, the way they're put together. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could almost think, I don't know how high the neck goes up, but I could almost see myself giving them orc heads and calling them freebooters.
Oh.
Like, with spacesuits on, like space orcs, like proper space orcs. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I think it would be fun. So yeah, I think it might be. Well, anybody could do. You could do a Tau Genestealer Cult Force. You could do an Orc Genestealer Cult Force.
Yeah.
What other species? Eldar Genestealer Cult Force. That would be really interesting. I'm not sure how that would go.
No, that would be kind of a trip, considering how xenophobic that the Eldar are.
Yeah. And like, it would be a challenge from a hobby perspective for sure.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I mean, there's some interesting ways. Like, a few years ago, Curtis had kit bashed a bunch of Eldar stuff with Slaanesh demons, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
And so it's possible that could be done as well with Genestealers and Eldar. I don't know. I'd have to.
Yeah, I mean, some simple head swaps. I mean, I guess they're doing a lot better at not doing things totally heroic scale these days. The proportions are much better now.
Yeah,
and so you might be able to get away with that. That might actually work.
Yeah,
and like the Genestealer Cult symbols all over the Eldar vehicles and stuff. What else do we have out there? We have, what is it? I'm thinking orcs and oh man, can you imagine getting the Caradron Overlords armies and doing Genestealer Cult like squats, because supposedly the squats were originally, a lot of squat worlds were conquered by the Tyranids.
Yeah.
So like you might have Genestealer Cult squats.
Well, I think what would be interesting,
that would be a challenge.
This might be more Tau, but the Kroot, because the Kroot will eat, pretty much anything. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Forgot to put this in Hobby Progress. Or the Blackstone Fortress novel. Pretty good novelization.
Oh.
They do. There's the Kroot character that's in the box. They do. He does. Have quite a bit of stuff in the book, and there are times there where they talk to him about why is he eating things from, enemies and friends both, and dead friends. So, but Kroot and
that's awesome.
Kroot and Genestealers, who's eating who though?
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, whose genetic code writing is better, right?
Yeah. So if you're, those listeners of ours that are into the Kroot, and I know we've got a few, I've read your emails. Love you guys. This may be your chance to do something super crazy.
Yeah, and with the Kroot kill teams rules in that latest episode, the issue of White Dwarf,
right?
You can go Genestealer Cult. You can go You can go recruit. You just go crazy with it.
Yeah.
There's a new kill team out with some of the new wrecked Imperium terrain called Starn's Disciples that comes with the gunslinger Genestealer with the 3 arms, and he shoots up to 12 shots a turn because he's crazy like that. Homie's gross. Okay. And yeah, it comes with this banner bearer and a bunch of other really cool kill team guys. A bunch of they look mostly second and third generation.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. They do have new
all
Genestealer
acolytes.
Cult.
Yeah. Really, yeah, they're all acolytes. Yeah, I think the pistol guy is a third generation because he's human-ish, but he's got mutations. He's got the 3 arms and he's got a weird shaped head.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of second generation guys with him, and they're all using mining weapons and stuff.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I saw that was
really cool.
It hasn't been released except for pre-order, I think, or maybe not pre-order, but they mentioned on the Warhammer community. Yeah.
It is on pre-order, £40.
Oh, okay.
So
about
$60. I don't know. If it's like the other ones, yeah. But it comes with terrain, and that's cool. And we have the Theta 7 Acquisitius Adeptus Mechanicus kill team, which comes with looks like it comes with the Tech Priest, the cool Tech Priest going shh, and it has Rust Stalkers, and I've been wanting Rust Stalkers, so that's super annoying because I want Shush Guy and I want Rust Stalkers, and and my wife's having a baby soon, and I'm like, I really shouldn't spend $60 on another kill team. Look, especially when
don't get
I've got
stabbed.
a giant stack. I got a giant stack of Rangers just sitting there, just waiting to be built and painted. just waiting, and I just have so much to do. And my main hobby, anyways. You could also do an Adeptus Mechanicus, like Genestealer Cult too. That definitely happens. That is a thing that happens. So.
That could be.
Anyways, the sky's the limit.
Yeah,
the sky's the limit, everybody. This is a great army. I would definitely suggest at least dipping your toes in it. Make a kill team. Start the sickness off early, and allow the Genestealer Cult to infect your collection, everyone. All right, so let's take a break, come back, and close out the show, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
Hey Archons, tired of the boring predictability and efficiency of stuff that always works? You need the Slith Party Bus! Got an extra 473 points that you can't find a solid use for? You need the Slith Party Bus! You could spend 420 points on 3 reliable Lance Ravagers pumping out 9 Dark Lance shots per turn. That'll only give up 3 victory points, or you can drop 473 points on 2 Archons, 8 Slith, and a Raider for 11 victory points. You need the Slith Party Bus! The classic Slith Party Bus. Still awesome. Party Bus! Still hilarious. Party Bus! It's the Slith Party Bus! If you love the Slith Party Bus, you'll want to check out our other exciting products. We have the Rack Wiffle Ball Bat, the Trueborn, and the Blood Bride. Trueborn and Blood Bride models no longer available. The classic Slith Party Bus, still awesome, still hilarious. It's the Slith Party Bus!
Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40k club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't.
Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Zotabix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh boy, I'd better feed Max his Zotabix.
Yes, you had.
Zotabix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert depths.
Ah!
Zotabix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached. Thanks for joining us for episode 123. Jason, have you changed the password on your luggage yet?
Well, I was working on that, but, I kind of forgot where I put my luggage. So.
Might I suggest 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Really throw them off. Really throw them off with that one.
Yeah, no one will catch that one. Or maybe I can change mine to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah.
Oh man, no one will guess that one. No one will guess that. All right, once again, thank you, Games Workshop, for sending us Vigilus Defiant. That really helps.
Yep.
Thanks to Flipside Gaming for, I guess, in the future we'll be sponsoring our FLGS, but for the fans.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. The fans benefit, and thanks to Table War for hooking a brother up. That would be really cool. And once again, thanks to all the guys who helped out with the Jared and Tucker and everybody who helped out with the Age of Sigmar tournament, and John, who did a really excellent job. He did a really, really good job doing the paint judging and stuff for the tournament.
Yeah, I heard about that.
He did people really appreciated it, because I'm a little leery of giving people detailed feedback on their paint scores. Like, I would just not give it to them.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to have that conversation. I don't have time to have that conversation. But
right. John is a teacher, and
he's a teacher. He knows how to talk to people
Yeah, he just keeps dropping puns and everything.
Yeah. He's very disarming, so people really appreciate. They came up to me and said, I went to this other tournament and I got a score of 3, and nobody would tell me why. Instead, you guys have used the very objective ITC scoring, and not only that, the guy who judged me gave me a list of things I could do to get a better score next time, which I'm going to go home and do. Like, this one dude was like, I'm actually excited to go home and do the things I need to do to get the better score next time, whereas before I was a little dejected. So, hats off to John for making that happen, because there's no freaking way I would have time for that. So that was really huge.
And what's nice to go on with that is that John is creating a web page, or a blog on judging and painting and raising your paint scores at tournaments and whatnot. And I think he's working on it still. He said he'd make it public, more public, after he'd posted about 3 or 4 posts. So I'm looking forward to him continuing that, and then we'll go ahead and let people know.
Yeah, you want to have content. You kind of do want to have content before you really go. Like my little short story podcast thing is still only got one episode, so I'm not really releasing that yet. I'm paying for it. I'm paying $8 a month for the podcast space. But I wonder if that kind of thing has to stop when the baby comes. Just randomly paying. I have like $10 going to Patreon.
Yeah,
it's just like but it's all for great stuff. So why not? Anyways, thanks again. Look for us on Facebook, Masters of the Forge.
And Twitter,
Masters of Forge, which I have automatically posting now, which is really sweet.
That is nice.
I don't have to post. We use the hashtag Masters of the Forge on
Instagram,
and I think that's about it.
iTunes. Yeah, mastersoftheforge.com.
Oh, yeah, please do some iTunes reviews. We'd really appreciate it. It really helps. Especially if we're only going once a month. I think our iTunes rating is going to drop. So we would really appreciate it if you could get up there and give us some cool feedback.
Give us some love.
Speaking of love, it's time to go and take care of my wife, who is super duper pregnant at this point.
Yeah, third trimester, man.
Baby's kicking, dancing. The baby is doing like river dance on my wife's bladder constantly. So brutal.
That's rough. Yeah. Whatever you do, don't show her. Don't show her anything from the movie Aliens or Alien.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, hey! It makes sense that we're doing the Genestealer Cult right now, because
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
the Genestealer infestation.
Yeah, I'm going to call that child Darippa. We went to the or Gazgul.
We went to have the baby like scanned and stuff, because we have to go more often because of our advanced age.
Yeah,
and they measured the baby's head and like, 22 centimeters. The first thing I did was go, ha! She did not appreciate that.
Don't get stabbed, please.
Good times. All right. So I guess we'll call that quits. Thanks for joining me, Jason.
Thanks for having me. It's good to talk to you.
Next time we'll talk about some more Vigilus stuff. That's for sure.
Definitely.
But until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't make fun of the size of the baby's head.
Oh, I'm going to leave that.
Genestealer's head. Okay. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.